not telling like everybody. I'm saying I bought this stupid shit at 100K market cap. I am now 400X. If you want to get in, by all means.
Welcome to the On the Edge podcast with your host, Scott Groves.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Scott Groves here with my friend John Knopf, who is another most interesting man in the world. Our daughters do jiu-jitsu together, which is pretty awesome because they kick the shit out of each other on a daily basis. That's fun. And for a long time, he kind of just has resting bitch face, so he didn't really talk because he was just kind of sitting over there in the corner with his wife. I'm like, dude, why are these people so unhappy? Like, they must be broke or something. I don't know. Like, maybe all their money goes to bringing their daughter to jiu-jitsu. And then I finally meandered over there and struck up a conversation. And it turns out John is not broke. He has crushed it in the NFT world and the crypto world the last couple of years. He was broke, so my read was not totally off because he was like all artists, a lifelong landscape photographer, photographing bands, photographing in foreign countries, finally got shots in National Geographics, and now, like, can I call you a National Geographics photographer?
Absolutely can.
That's awesome. He's a National Geographics photographer, and has made a killing the last 5 years in, again, all these weird South Korean meme stock NFT crypto stuff that none of it I understand. So this is going to be somewhat biographical, somewhat storytelling, somewhat Scott's education in crypto, so I too can make some easy money, because we're watching this on the evening of March 7th, happens to be the night of the State of the Union. And in the last 4 days, are you comfortable telling people what you turned what into what on this Joe Biden shit meme coin?
Yeah, this has been a wild last 4 days. I mean, my serotonin levels just went to all-time high. We got into this Joe Biden. I don't even know how the fuck to pronounce this shit. But I'm sitting in a chat room and I see, one of my friends, Ultra Degen, JN, shout out to JN, Ultra Degen guy, and he posts this and he goes, obviously not financial advice, guys. This is an ultra degen move, but I bought this shit. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get into this shit. It looks hilarious. I literally opened the page and I laughed out loud. That was my technical analysis.
Oh my God.
I laughed out loud. I was like, this meme makes me laugh. It was just a cartoon of Joe Biden. Bought in at 100K market cap, roughly around there. And then
wait, all of the coins combined were worth 100K?
So what a market cap means is basically that's how much money has been put into the coin. That's how many people are buying in. That's the market cap of the coin. So to give you an idea, 100K, pretty low if you think about it, if it's going to go, crazy. So I looked at it and I was like, 100K, I'll throw in $130. I don't really like gambling. I'm down to risk one Solana for this.
Well, okay, so you transferred some crypto, and we'll get to how this all works in a little bit. You transferred some crypto that was worth $130 over to the Joe Biden meme coin that's just there to make fun of the president. Serves no purpose whatsoever, but so I love it. I wish you would have told me. I would have found a way to got it, or I'd have been like, hell yeah, I'll give you $130. Like, let's take a flyer. And as of the time of this publication at the State of the Union, what is that $130 worth?
About $25,000. Joe Biden.
Oh my God. Okay, so have you cashed out on the way up?
Yeah, I learned from my first reign in crypto in 2020 when I cashed in on this stupid coin. I don't even want to mention the name of it, but I lost. I went from $10,000 to $400,000 to zero.
Wait. And
this was my first
I know where you were in 2020.
Broke.
10,000 to 400,000, and you didn't have the foresight to be like, "Hey man, let me just take 100 out,
right?
Like just take some winnings off the table." Because I'm guessing, I'm projecting here. I'm guessing in 2020, 100 grand was probably more than you had made in a year before.
It was more than I had made in a lifetime.
And you didn't think to take some of it off the table?
Absolutely not. I'm like, we're riding this to $1 million.
Oh my God,
that was my mentality back then.
So 10,000 to 400,000 to zero.
Yep, lost everything. So that was my introduction to crypto and meme coins. And so I learned a lot from that. I was depressed for a good week, just totally fucked my head up. I took some time off. And what's funny is after that week of taking that time off, that's when I found the Bored Apes.
And okay, so wait, let's just go all the way back in time. I'm going to make a placeholder here that you were an early adopter of Bored Apes. Let's go all the way back in time, because all the way back to the beginning. Where were you born? No, I'm just kidding. Let's go back to the beginning of crypto, and then I want to go back to the beginning of you, because the libertarian in me wants crypto to work. I want defund the Fed. I'm sick of this inflationary dollar being there's no way to hedge against inflation, but I still other than the fact it's a spreadsheet that has a ledger and it's verified by all the nodes. Like, I know what to say, but I don't know what any of it means. So explain to us in dummy terms. We'll just go with like base level Bitcoin. What is crypto and what purpose does it serve?
So if you look at crypto from an outside, point of view, you're thinking this is the ultimate Ponzi scheme, this is scam, this is digital money, this is a joke. But if you took some time and actually read the white paper and really understood what the idea of what crypto is supposed to do, you would actually probably love it as a libertarian, especially because the idea is decentralization. But not only that, people think that's the main pillar, and it's not. It's self-sovereignty. The idea is independence, right? It's not someone else owning your assets. You own your assets. The idea of self-sovereignty is being able to maintain your assets, control your assets, and not have, the government being able to mess with it or anybody being able to touch it. That's your control. And I think most of us have adapted to the lifestyle of we go to work and then we get money taken out of our paycheck. And I'm one of those people. I had no clue where that money went. Every week you get a paycheck, you'd see money taken out. You'd never question it. You'd say, oh, cool, I don't know where this is going. Right. Going to the government. But we don't really question what's going on and how it works. And so we don't really adapt to self-sovereignty. But as I've learned with crypto, it is essential for us to understand that we need, and especially when the crisis happened during the pandemic, how important was it for us to understand that we needed to take care of ourselves? The government didn't step in.
Right.
Nobody gave us money. We had to figure it out. And therefore, all of us should understand right there in that moment that the government doesn't have as much power as we believe it does. It's not the saving grace. It's not going to help you. So you need to have self-sovereignty over your own assets, over your own life. And that's where I think crypto comes in. And a lot of people look at crypto and it's like, it's an evolution of finance. It's a revolution. It's not that. It's a complete reshaping of the narrative of finance. It is completely reshaping the entire structure of how we use money, how we're going to hedge against inflation in the future. But I think more importantly, we've been using finance the same way for a very, very long time. And now is the time in 2024 to really step up our game and actually change things. And crypto is that.
Why?
I personally believe why is because crypto, not only is it, of course, decentralized, but it allows you, in my opinion, to... Like I said, it's, to own your own assets, but not only that, but again, to be self-sovereign. I think that that's the most important thing that we're kind of like, discussing here, which is, in my opinion, what all of us really, really need is to understand why we should be self-sovereign. Why does crypto solve this? Well, the USD doesn't. The USD is overinflated. They can constantly print it. If you look at Bitcoin, let's just take Bitcoin as an asset, for example. Every other asset that we accumulate, whether it's silver, gold, USD, there's more of it.
Right.
It's not a finite asset.
They mine more gold. They print more dollars.
Yeah, I mean, at a point where we're going to be able to mine from meteors, other planet. I mean, it's infinite. It's scalable. It's just going to continue to grow, right? Well, Bitcoin, it's a finite amount. Once it ends, it ends. That's it.
And explain to people what that means. One, that there's a finite amount of Bitcoin, because this part I do understand. And then when it ends, it ends. So talk us through the evolution of Bitcoin. I think the other day you said somebody sold like 160 million and he had it back when it was zero. Like he mined it on a computer running an algorithm and then it spit out a Bitcoin for him.
Yeah, in 2010.
In 2010. So for 14 years, this guy's been holding Bitcoin that he mined for free, and he just dropped like 160 million of it because it hit its all-time high, and he's like, I'm out. Do you think that was a real person, or do you think that was a hedge fund or a company? Or
I think that was somebody who mined it. I mean, you can look into kind of the hashtags and the Texans and everything, and actually find what people were doing with the money. It was somebody who was mining it back in the day, which is just so cool. It's probably mining it on his laptop.
Wild.
It's just mind blowing to me.
Okay, so like how many Bitcoin coins are there theoretically?
So just start off. I am not a crypto expert.
Okay.
But I believe there are 21 million Bitcoin that can be mined, and I believe it ends around 2150. Don't quote me on that, but I believe
you got to look this up, Chris. See how many actual available Bitcoins there are. Because my understanding is when the thesis was first presented, it was like, okay, you're going to mine, and like my laptop could have produced enough power to mine a Bitcoin. But now we're to the point where there needs to be so much algorithmic power being run to mine a single Bitcoin that like it's just not cost effective, right? Like you'd have to have a daisy chain of computers and the electrical bill and all that stuff. It wouldn't be profitable for somebody to have 80 supercomputers mining for Bitcoin potentially.
I mean, if you have a warehouse and you have mining rigs set up, it is, I mean, especially if you figure out a way to make it energy efficient, say, hydroelectricity, solar, things like that. I mean, you could really bank on that. I mean, a guy just got caught for using, a janitor just got caught for using the school power for mining Bitcoin in the basement or some shit, or the attic.
I love that.
It's brilliant.
Brilliant.
And then there's another company I saw, let's say like Switzerland or somewhere, they're using the power of the Bitcoin mining rigs to heat the spa, to heat their pool, to heat the hotel. And so they're making about $80,000 a year mining 1 Bitcoin per year and heating their entire hotel for free.
Got it. How many Bitcoin we got, Chris?
21 million.
There you go.
And
Boom.
it is estimated that the last Bitcoin will be mined around 2140.
Fuck yeah, dude.
2140. Okay, so
close.
All right, so here's the part that I don't understand, right? All right, so if you have any rudimentary understanding of the economy, you know that there's inflation, right? And well, actually, let's just do this. Most people don't have a rudimentary understanding of the economy because they think like, oh, okay, well, inflation is coming down. And it's like, yes, we had 20% inflation the last couple years. So that sushi meal that used to cost, $40 now costs $48. And they're like, yeah, but inflation is coming down. No, but the prices aren't going to come down because that would be deflation. And the Federal Reserve, the government, everybody has a stated mission of not allowing deflation. Because if people think inflation's a problem and we start to have deflation, we're like, well, just leave your money under the mattress. It'll be worth more tomorrow. Then the entire economy stops working. So the government has to keep pushing somewhere around a 2% inflation number. And then every once in a while, they fuck it up. Like during COVID, there's a 10% inflation number. So all of a sudden, the money you're earning is worth less. The house costs more. The car costs more. The sushi costs more. Your wages aren't keeping in touch. All of those things, I understand how the government just screws us, takes away our sovereign nation by basically deflating our assets, inflating the money. Nothing's worth what we think it's worth. But at the same time, Bitcoin goes up in value. So how is that not the same thing as inflation? Like if I have a Bitcoin that's worth 10,000 and now it goes to 60,000, is it just a hedge against inflation? Is it going up at the same rate as the dollar because there's only 21 million Bitcoin? Like I don't understand how it's like the hedge for sovereign America. Like I want it to work. Like I want to believe so hard because I'm a libertarian. But usually when you want to believe, that's when you get scammed. So
there's three schools of thoughts here. I'm like, all right, so one is think of it, I hate to say this, but think of BTC like land, okay? So think of Bitcoin.
Think of Bitcoin land, okay?
Yeah, think of it like land.
Where you don't have to pay property taxes.
Right. And especially if you got it like, the 1700s, 1800s, you had bought land for pennies and now it's worth, millions of dollars.
Right.
Well, think of it as, but there's more, there's less Bitcoin than there is land. So if you think of it as land, that'll kind of give you a scalable idea of what it can do. But let's dive deeper into what inflation is, right? And what money is. Most people don't understand where money comes from, and they believe it's backed by gold. It's not backed by gold. It hasn't been backed by gold, I think, since like Roosevelt or something. It's been like
Nixon.
1970. Yeah, Nixon. I mean, it's been a long time. So when we removed our dollar from the gold standard, now I'm not an expert on economics, but I do understand this. And this is the idea that, and just by stock trading, think of it like stocks. If I have 10 Tesla stock, right? I bought into Tesla, and let's say there's only 100 available. I own 10% of Tesla, right? But let's say Elon decides, you know what? I'm not leaving it up to a vote. I'm the leader, and I'm going to make 10,000 more Tesla stock. Well, now I own like 1% or, nothing.
Yeah, 1/100th of a percent or
exactly.
whatever.
Now I own, and he did that. He just has full control. He did that. No voting, nothing. Well, that's what the fucking Federal Reserve's basically, that's what happens. They just print more money. They just print it. And the problem with that is we're not voting on that. We're not saying, yeah, guys, print more money so that our dollar is worth less. If I was holding $100 million right now in my bank account, I'd be fucking pissed because my dollar is literally going down every single day. Within 20 years, my $100 million will be worth maybe $70, $60 million.
Right.
So if you're looking at it as a really wealthy person, why would I want to own USD, which is basically the ultimate? If I looked at it into crypto terms, crypto has multiple nodes, right? Multiple ledgers. People are constantly verifying on the blockchain transactions going through. If I looked at the USD, it's one node. One person prints this shit. One place. If I were to put that into crypto terms, that's a shit coin. I wouldn't buy that.
Right.
I wouldn't buy one person who has control. It's a centralized asset.
Right.
No interest in that. So when you look at USD, ultimately it is constantly inflating, right? The inflation is continuously growing.
Yeah, but like by design. It's not a secret or something.
It's by design. We can print more. And the Federal Reserve, which people don't understand, was basically created to protect the stock market. It happened with JP Morgan, and his buddies got together to protect the stock market when it crashed, to save everybody. And it was a great concept back then. However, it doesn't really work now. And so when we have to look to the future, how do we make something that's valuable and that can actually control, can actually have utility, right? And when you look at like Bitcoin, everyone goes, well, you know, Bitcoin's archaic. It takes hours to use and transfer. Well, you have to look at it as a store of value. It's where you're going to keep your wealth. And then we have to look at other chains like Ethereum, Solana, you know, different chains and see how that's going to be used in everyday transactions. Because when we look at current USD, it's just, in my opinion, completely archaic to how we're doing it. It's like if I wanted to wire transfer somebody money internationally, it's going to take me 5 days. If I want to buy a house, it's going to take me days. Why shouldn't this be done on the Ethereum blockchain and just transfer? If I want to transfer you $1 million right now, just use our phones and we transfer it. But if we had to do it with a bank account, it's a whole thing. It's a whole complicated thing.
Yeah.
This is my issue, is that there's a middleman. We need to get the middleman out of money. Money should be able to just go back and forth. I should be able to give it to you like cash.
Right.
But I can't. It's like when I bought my house, it was a whole thing. I had to deal with banks and then, you know, do you want to wire this? And do you want to own a line of equity? And it's like, guys, I just want to buy my fucking house. Here's the money.
Right, right.
And
but no. You have to have a title insurance and you have to go through this third party. There's all these little taxes on the system that make everything so expensive.
It's ridiculous. And in 5 years from now, what you're going to be able to do is go up to the house, go on your phone, go onto the Ethereum blockchain, buy the house like an NFT. You'll be able to get the title right there, and you'll own that house. And that's it. There won't be escrow. There won't be all this shit. It'll all be handled in decentralized finance. And it's happening right before our eyes. 2 years ago, there were no DeFi loans. Now, you can put up your CryptoPunk or any type of NFT and get a decentralized finance loan at 7, 8%, 9%. Hold on to your ETH, make more money, hedge against inflation. I saw a guy take $1 million loan on his punk about 2 months ago. 9% interest, no, 10% interest rate. No, started off at 14%, and then someone bought it at a 10% interest rate, so they rebought it and refinanced him. But he got, you know, $1 million worth of Ethereum, and Ethereum was $1,500 at the time. Now it's at $3,800. He's made $2.5 million maybe in profit, and he owes maybe $14,000 in interest.
So I want to come back to that for sure. Crypto lending, I'm going to write that down. Is the how do I phrase this question? Is the run up in crypto value right now all of the new people that are getting into the market? And I'm not saying that in a Ponzi scheme type of thing, right. But you know, let's just say there's 20% of the U.S. population that will believe in crypto. You know, everybody else will be too old. They'll be too boomer. They won't trust a cell phone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But once we get 20% of the national population, which maybe right now we're at like 0.2 or 0.5%. But when we get there and Bitcoin hits $500,000, is the game over? Is that it? Like there's no more increase in value? Because if all of a sudden Bitcoin's worth $500,000 and the government just continues to inflate the dollar, so now, well, I used to be able to buy a house for one $500,000 Bitcoin, but 10 years later, I got to spend two $500,000 Bitcoins to buy this because there's nobody else coming into the market buying Bitcoin, running up the value. Like when does the music stop if we stop getting early adopters?
So my brain, I thought about this one night and just for hours.
You were up all night?
All night thinking about this. I've been trying to solve that question for a couple years, and I think this is where I've come to at least a theory. So USD gets inflated, right? And $1,000 is now worth $100. Now let's say 100 years from now, $1 million is worth $100. You're going to buy fucking eggs and it's $12 million.
Right.
That means Bitcoin is worth $50 million. Does that make sense?
But why?
Bitcoin will inflate with USD is what I believe. So let's say, for example, Bitcoin ends at $1.5 million and USD is only down like 10%. Maybe that's the standard, right? Maybe that's where that standard begins.
That's where like the parity is.
Like that like they couple together almost, you know, like it's like, okay, so this is worth 1.5 million, USD is down 10%, so USD goes down 10% more, Bitcoin goes up 10% more, and now we see that volatility, lose, a lot of fuel, and we start to actually see it just find its price.
Yeah, I mean, that's not unheard of. That's kind of what Mexico does. Mexico tries to pin the peso to the U.S. dollar at about 20-1.
Okay.
And sometimes there's things going on where it's like, it's a really favorable market, and you can go down to to Mexico and you can get 22, 24 pesos for a dollar. And sometimes the Mexican economy is surging and you can only get 17 pesos for the dollar. But in general, the government down there tries to keep the inflation kind of pinned. But that's one government's control over money versus one government's control. I don't understand the end game because there's no control over the crypto. Like
the market controls it.
Yeah.
The market controls.
So I guess as people need to come in and out of crypto for dollars, because eventually, there's going to be something that you can only do with dollars.
What if you're using Bitcoin though for everything? What if it's accepted everywhere?
Will it eventually become that ubiquitous where you can pick up a cup of coffee for 0.00009 Bitcoin?
Go to Ecuador.
You can do that in Ecuador right now.
Yeah.
Explain more.
No, I'm sorry. Did I say Ecuador? El Salvador.
El Salvador.
They're Bitcoin friendly. I mean, you can go to a coffee shop and buy, coffee with Bitcoin. Is the El Salvadori president? Am I right on this? El Salvador. The El Salvadori president's the guy who's just been stacking Bitcoin.
You're like trying to use volcanic energy to mine Bitcoin.
Yeah, the guy's a genius. I mean, he was buying it at 8,000, 12,000, just stacking it, laughing at the rest of the world, just like, okay, and now they're killing it. And you can use it anywhere. I mean, I'm watching my friends move there because there's no crypto tax. So they're moving there. It's safe there. They're building billion-dollar libraries now. They have self-sovereignty.
Wouldn't that be wild if, that ends up being the prevailing story of the 21st century, that El Salvador basically went from a poor Central American criminally, just super dangerous, drug infected. Oh God, that'd be an amazing story, right? Of a turnaround.
Yeah. And I think
their story right now is fascinating, but
yeah,
and also they're on the dollar, so you don't even have to change your accounts.
So buying in El Salvador is a good flyer on some type of risk.
It really is. So there's your utility right there. I mean, so when you ask about where is it going to go, I think what happens is it gets inflated with the U.S. dollar. It's Kathy Woods, who runs ARK Investments. She's calling for $1.5 million. That's what Bitcoin's going to be worth eventually. Everyone's going, that's crazy. But if you think about inflation, makes perfect sense to me.
I mean, 60,000 to 1.5 million.
Yeah.
It seems a lot more reasonable to me than zero and 2010. In 14 years, it went from 0 to 67,000 or whatever the all-time high was today, right?
Right.
So that's an infinite growth if you start at 0. But just $1 from $67,000, that seems way more crazy than 67,000 to $1.5 million.
Well, I want you to think of two things right now. Every 100 days, we're printing $1 trillion worth of debt, right? Into the deficit. And then you look at crypto, and this is funny because I have a lot of my normie friends going, good luck with that crypto shit, should have sold at the top. But here's how I see it. You just said 0.2% maybe of the people are buying crypto right now.
Yeah.
And it has a $2.5 trillion market cap.
Yeah.
That's more money than the U.S. banking system. If we we did a banking run right now, they only have 1.7 trillion in cash.
No way.
Look it up. 1.7 trillion in cash in the U.S. banking system. If we did a run right now, they'd be out of money. $2.5 trillion in the crypto marketplace, and only 0.2% know about it. And you're telling me we're in a fucking bubble?
Yeah. Hey, Chris, can you look this up? Can you look up what percentage of Americans currently own crypto? Maybe it's 2%. I don't know. It's not it can't be a lot.
If it is, they own a very small amount and they don't understand why.
Yeah.
Wait till mass adoption happens. You see, the problem is right now is that my grandma can't buy it as my daughter can. You know what I'm saying? They don't understand the way they can't buy it. We need to make crypto onboarding as easy for my grandma as it is for my daughter. And then we can start seeing mass adoption. But right now, what you're seeing is a lot of people don't understand what crypto does. Everybody, and really intelligent people will say, good luck with that crypto shit. And it's like, do you understand that it's a $2.5 trillion market cap and nobody believes in it? Imagine when people actually do.
Right. What do we got as a percentage of Americans who own some form of crypto?
Okay, according to security.org, 40% of American adults now own crypto, up from 30% in 2023. So it went up 10% in a year.
I can't even believe it's that high.
I do believe that.
U.S. currency currently in circulation is $2,040 billion, which
2,000. So if you have 2,000 billions, you have about 2 trillion.
Yeah, but if you look up like the U.S. banking system on like how much money they currently have in liquidity, I believe it's around 1.7 trillion.
But I would have guessed way less because 2,000.
That's
billion.
like actual bank notes. Like for a total of 50.3 billion bank notes.
Interesting.
Are floating around. Anyway.
So if we made a run on banks, they wouldn't have the cash to cash us out.
I mean,
they've loaned all our money out to
you know what's so crazy is run on banks are a real thing. When I was working at Washington Mutual and they went bankrupt, you're going to have to double check this, Chris. I think Washington Mutual went bankrupt in July of 2008. July 2008, I think. A lot of people thought it was the bad mortgages that bankrupted Washington Mutual, but it wasn't. Because I remember I had a front row seat for this. What happened was when the bad news...
September 26, 2008.
September 2008. So a couple months off. Maybe July seared in my brain because this is when it started getting really bad. Once Hillary Clinton came out and started saying liar loan, and the FDIC came out and said, no, we're not going to raise the $100,000 account limit to $250,000. There was just an old school run on the bank. Mm-hmm. People that had millions of dollars in Washington Mutual for years came in, and I don't remember exactly what the numbers are, but this anecdotally will make sense to people, is like our branch in Burbank had like a branch market cap of like $170 million on deposit. And on like a big week, we would have like $5 million plus or minus, you know? And in like 1 week, we had like $12 million of net withdrawals. Next week, $12 million net withdrawals.
Bank run.
That's just, it's an old school bank run.
Yep.
And the FDIC could have prevented it by saying, hey, no, all banks are secure. We will back you up to $1 million. And there would have been no Washington Mutual failure. There would have been no et cetera failure. And then not surprisingly, Chase Bank was in there the week that they went bankrupt in that September, and they were getting ready to buy the bank, and some drug deal behind the scenes. All of a sudden, all the auditors left, and then they announced that like the bank went bankrupt on Thursday night, so it wiped out all the shareholders. And then on Friday morning, there was this drug deal with the government for J.P. Morgan to buy them for just an asset cost with the full faith and backing of the government. And so all the shareholders got wiped out because of this dirty government deal. And like, if I wasn't already a libertarian, watching my stocks, tons of which was Washington Mutual and my 401k, go to zero because of this ugly drug deal, which I kind of suspected and then was confirmed later by this book called The Lost Bank. It made me fucking hate banking and the government. And somehow I've worked in mortgages the rest of my life. So I don't know how I square that in my brain. But anyway, that's a long story to say I hate the banks, and
I hate them too.
That run on banks could happen very easily.
Absolutely. And you know, when I got into crypto, the argument was that Ethereum and Bitcoin use too much power or too much energy, right? Well, centralized banking doesn't.
Right.
You're talking about keeping a bank open, you know, employees, keeping the lights on, printing money. That doesn't take energy.
Yeah.
That's the issue, is that people, they listen to the media, they listen to mainstream, and they don't do their own research. They read the headlines. And I understand you have to work. There's very little time. You got to take care of your fucking kids. You got to work out. You got to go to jiu-jitsu. When you have ever time to actually dive deep and understand.
To the banking system.
Exactly.
The most boring fucking job in the world.
But when the pandemic hit, that's exactly what I fucking did. I sat down, I listened to podcasts. I learned exactly how the banking system, the first podcast I went to was what happened to make all the stock markets crash over the years. I wanted to learn every stock market crash because I wanted to understand why and how. Because that was the biggest thing, is because our stock market crashed during the pandemic. So I wanted to understand why. And then I got into ChatGPT later on and had to teach me where money comes from. It's just more and more you dive into it deeper and you really understand nobody really dives deep enough into this shit. And that's why they all hate crypto, because they read the mainstream media news and they go, these fucking, you know, guys are the apes and their cats and they're screaming, you know, take us to the moon. And I get it. It looks like a scam. I totally get it. But
and it looks obnoxious. There's a lot of crypto bros on the internet that don't really help your case. You know, it's like there's not exactly these super fiscally responsible people that are like, hey, here's how the government deflates money. They're like, Iba Shiba Mumu to the moon. And it's like, what?
But this is what creates a market. If I look at the punk movement, if I look at the rave movement, this is what created all these. What created EDC, the multi-billion-dollar industry now? originally a bunch of ape-like people handing out flyers and screaming, "Let's go!" You know?
Yeah,
I like
more base.
I like to compare it to weed. You know, weed wants to be taken seriously, and also a good strain is called Alaskan Thunderfuck.
Exactly. I mean, that's the point. You know, it's like, should we take things so fucking seriously all the time, or can we? That is what brought me into crypto, was the fun of it. It was fun at first. We weren't making anything. We were trading JPEGs back and forth. Like, we weren't making any money, but it was fun. It was the culture. That's, in my opinion, what creates is culture. Mm-hmm. Culture. And that is the most important thing, is what we do and how we create the narrative for that. That's what creates everything, entertainment and culture. That's what we believe in.
So let me ask you, we talked briefly about Bitcoin, and this is kind of the gold standard, or we'll call Bitcoin the USD. Like, as USD goes the world, you know, we're kind of the reserve currency. We're how currently, maybe not for long, people trade oil, securities, and et cetera, et cetera. That's the US dollar. Bitcoin seems to be the ubiquitous, like, this is the starter drug for crypto, because people kind of know what Bitcoin is. And then you mentioned like these meme coins and shit coins. And are there stable coins? Are there things that like we now have a long enough track record where I know like, hey, if I put in $1, there's a reasonable chance that my dollar will hold some store of value. Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride.
Right.
It's going to be up and down. And by the way, up and down just the way stocks were in the teens and the 20s, when all of the famous families of today, like the Kennedys, they used to call it painting the tape. Do you know what painting the tape is, by the way? Have you ever looked this up? All right.
I know what that is.
So in the teens and the 20s, most of the wealthiest families in America would paint the tape, where you would have, you know, $20,000 back in the day. Huge amount of money in the teens or 20s. I would have $20,000, and we would work out this drug deal where it's like, hey man, you're going to buy New York cabs for 13 cents. Then I'm going to immediately bid on the stock market for 14 cents. Then you're going to bid for 15 cents.
Fucking art.
And we would go back and forth, and we would paint the tape running up this cost until we're like, all right, New York taxi cab is at like 77 cents. Let's dump all of our shares. And we have, you know, at that time, $10,000, $20,000 was enough to move the market. And then the shares would crash, and we would make a ton of fucking profit. And then we would go back the next day and do it with whoever else was around back then. AT&T, I don't think AT&T was around then. But anyway, whatever the company of the day was. And we would paint the tape back and forth, and it was old school stock manipulation.
Yep.
And families getting ultra rich doing that is basically what created the SEC. So, you know, it's less than 100 years ago that the stock market that everybody counts on for their 401k, for a barometer of how the economy is doing, it's less than 100 years ago that shit was shady as fuck. So anyway, I say that all to say, like, is there some place where you can put money in crypto and have a reasonable expectation that you're not going to get fleeced, scammed, Ponzi scheme, somebody's going to log into your phone and rip off all your money because you don't know your security code? Like, is there some safety? Because they tried to make it that way with all these Super Bowl commercials with the one Sam Bankman-Fried that just went out of business. I mean, that probably set the crypto like movement back a decade. So if somebody wanted the starter kit to sovereignty with some reasonable expectation of the money being somewhat safe, what would they do?
So if I were you, if I were to dive into crypto, I'd say read white papers. Go into Ethereum and read the white paper and understand why it was, you know, created. And then what I would do is if I were someone getting into crypto, I would go, instead of outside, I would go outside of the media. I would go to Twitter. I would go to where all the crypto people are talking about crypto to really understand what I would want to buy. But if you look at, like, let's look at companies, the internet.com companies from like the 90s, right? Like, let's look at Prodigy.
Yeah.
Let's look at AOL, Yahoo, all those. None of them really survived, right?
Pets.com.
Most
expensive.
ISPs.
Oh, okay.
ISPs, just let's Prodigy, right? CompuServe, Earthlink, all these were the early. Well, I look at Bitcoin kind of like that. I think Bitcoin obviously will last a lot longer. I think Bitcoin's like the internet.
Right.
But I look at like Ethereum, I look at Solana. These are like Prodigy. This is like CompuServe. This is like AOL. What will make it? I have no fucking clue. What will survive? Right. I don't know. Maybe none of it. You know, maybe quantum computing comes out and destroys all of it. Right. But what I see, and I look at trends, right? And currently, you have to look at like something like Polygon, which I told you about today. Tons of brand partnerships from, you're going to Starbucks and you're using their reward system. You don't even realize it's on the Polygon blockchain. Every day, crypto is integrated into our lives without us even realizing it. Disney, Nike, the Nike reward system when you're buying shoes is on the Polygon blockchain. So when you think about that, you have to look at brand partnerships. You have to look at crypto that you think has longevity. In my opinion, if I were to just throw names out there, of course, non-financial advice.
This is not financial advice. This is where you got to put a disclaimer up, Chris. This podcast is not meant as financial advice. Nobody here is a licensed advisor.
Exactly.
Invest at your own risk.
But this is what I owned in full discretion. These are the pieces that, the crypto that I own. I own Solana, which has had its issues. It's shut down before, which everyone, we want decentralized, yet this blockchain just shuts down. But the idea is fast transactions. What comes after that, I don't know. You look at Solana, you look at Polygon. There are so many different, in my opinion, tokens. There's Celestia, there's Cosmos.
So wait. Let's back up here, because you said something that I didn't even realize was a thing. The Polygon blockchain. So Polygon is the crypto token that you can invest in.
Yep, Matic.
Okay, Matic. That underlying technology, we'll call it, is a blockchain that Starbucks and Nike currently has their rewards program on?
Yeah, so Polygon is actually on the Ethereum blockchain as part of the Ethereum blockchain. It's made it so it's easier and scalable. It's so that Ethereum, huge gas fees cost you like $5 to use it. In high gas times, it can be up to $100, $200, $300.
What does that mean? Who's getting that money? Is there
miners? So how does miners make money, right? How do they make money? They get gas fees. That's the whole idea of this. So a miner is somebody who's, basically mining for Ethereum. They're verifying the ledger. They're verifying the blockchain. They're verifying transactions. They're getting paid for this.
So they're the new credit card processors.
Essentially, yeah. All they're doing is using energy. They're getting paid for the energy that they're using, as well as making, So everybody though, everyone's verifying the blockchain online, but these miners are mining for the actual Ethereum. They're verifying it with nodes, things like that. So when you look at
and my understanding is a node is like a decentralized spreadsheet that kind of verifies everything. If we were to dumb it down to the basics, it's like all of the nodes are these different checks and balances that make sure that when you send me one Ethereum, like it is known in the universe of crypto that like $3,500 just transfers hands from your wallet to my wallet.
It's been verified by the blockchain on these nodes. It's been verified multiple times.
Okay.
And I believe that is exactly how nodes work, is they verify the ledger. You don't quote me on that, but
right.
I believe that's exactly how it works. So the idea overall is that why the government doesn't want to use it? Because we would know where their fucking money's going.
Right.
Every time they buy a gold toilet, we would know about it.
Right.
You could literally look on the blockchain and be like, what'd the government spend today and on what?
There wouldn't be $100 billion missing from the Pentagon. Like, oh, shucks, I wonder where that went.
Yeah, it's amazing. They can't pass an audit, but,
Yeah. But you and I, every tax year, get some letter from the IRS saying, like, we think you owe us $2,700. We think you owe us $10,000. Oh, if you want to fight us, it might be $100. So it's like a mob shakedown.
It's 100% a giant Ponzi scheme. And it's like we've been doing this for so long that we're adapted to it. And, and someone told me, crypto, obviously, they say to me, self-sovereignty isn't the aspect of, that's not what brings people into it, because most people don't want to be self-sovereign. They want to go to fucking work. They want to get their money taken out of their checks. They don't want to pay taxes. They want to get money back every year.
Yeah.
We have to get out of that mindset. That's the issue.
Dude, I've always said if you wanted to create a voting revolution in this country where people would know exactly who they're voting for at the local level, the federal level, the deficit would be gone tomorrow. Every wasteful spending program would be gone tomorrow. Just don't let people take their taxes out of their paycheck. Make them cough up that $30,000 bill, $10,000 bill, $1,200 bill on April 15th, and watch how quickly people give a shit about their representatives and what the money is being spent on. But when they just death by 1,000 cuts, they bleed you a little bit at a time. It's just like that boiling frog, which I think that example is bullshit. But anyway, people know what the boiling frog is. It's like they just boil you slowly, and we don't notice it. But if you had to stroke a check one time every year on April 15th, you'd have a lot more engaged citizens.
Yeah, if people really understood, when you pay your taxes, how much bullshit it is, they don't send you a bill. Mm-hmm. You have to guess what you fucking made.
Yeah.
You got to go through your shit. You got to figure out what you did, and they might not like it.
Yeah, and then when you guess wrong, they can put you in jail.
Uh-huh.
It's the only debt they can put you in prison for.
It's a whole fucking thing. And it's like, of course, keep spreadsheets, be as accurate as you possibly can. But at the end of the day, they're not going to send you imagine a company calling you and saying, hey, we're not going to send you a bill, but you are going to owe us some fucking money by the end of this transaction.
Right. Could you imagine if every month you got your cell phone bill and they're like, all right, you need to go through and see how many calls you made, how many texts you sent, how many minutes you used, how many this, then you get a credit for this. Oh, but if you were under this cell phone tower, the law is different than this cell phone tower. Do us a favor, send us what you think you owe us for your cell phone bill, And then if you're wrong, we're going to fine you and we're going to put you in prison.
100%.
You'll be like, what the fuck? I'm not accepting this cell phone plan.
But we just accept it because that's the way it is. And it's like we have to start actually thinking for ourselves and going, well, you know what? If we turn to crypto, maybe they can't do this shit anymore. Mm-hmm. Maybe we could actually start controlling our own central, our own finance system.
Okay.
We should have control.
So I got to come back to this Nike and Starbucks thing.
Yeah.
Why are they trusting to be on this blockchain technology? Because I'm going to guess you can't just look up like who owned and created and was a software engineer for Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever.
Can.
Oh, you can.
Yeah,
okay.
Vitalik.
Okay, cool.
Our boy Vitalik.
All right, perfect. So Ethereum, you can do that. Why would they trust to have, because I've read somewhere and the numbers are astronomical. Chris, you're going to have to look this up too. Because every time I say the number, I feel like I'm exaggerating. But I think Starbucks has something like almost $1 billion in float at any given time on me, you, having $70 outstanding on our Starbucks rewards card or our Apple Pay or app. I think it's like Starbucks has so much fucking money in float, like they've basically become their own bank. And in your terms and in your terms and conditions, it says that they can lend and borrow against that money as they see fit.
$1.6 billion.
$1.6 billion are currently sitting on Starbucks unused gift cards. And they know that that's going to roll over, but it's like I get to zero. I recharge my gift card on my phone under my loyalty app for $100 or whatever because I don't want to keep reloading it $20 at a time. So they got $1.6 billion in float that's sitting on this blockchain Polygon. Why? Why aren't they trusting?
It sounds like the Starbucks reward system is more inflationary than the U.S. dollar because they're just like burning money here.
Yeah, and we get zero interest on that money. Like America is basically giving Starbucks an interest-free loan for $1.6 billion.
So I don't know if that's necessarily on the Polygon blockchain. I know they adapted it within the last few years. So my good friend Mel, who onboards all these giant companies, she actually onboarded Nike. She deals with these teams, and most people think like Nike comes in with a 500-person team and they're going into crypto. Fuck no. They give you like 3 people and you got to give them the best idea possible because they got to convince their bosses and then they got to convince those lawyers because it's all risk management. It was like when Time came in, my good friend Keith Grossman, he's the CEO of Time at the time. He brought in Time. It was 5-person team. Everybody thought it was hundreds of people.
Like Time Magazine?
Time Magazine.
Okay.
5-person team to bring into crypto. Keith running the whole fucking thing. And 4 other people trying to figure all this shit out with nobody really knowing what the fuck's going on because we're all new to this.
Right.
And this is actually where Keith Grossman, I actually met him, was on this app called Clubhouse, which was like this voice app,
Yeah. Clubhouse really had its moment and then it died.
It died, man. But when we were on there, man, that's where I found crypto. I used to run like the flat earth rooms and shit like that. Found crypto on there.
Wait, you don't really believe in flat earth?
Fuck no, dude.
Okay.
I'd troll the people that did. It was great.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was good times. But so I met him on there and he literally revolutionized how to bring a brand into Web3. And so when you kind of like follow what he did, he introduced himself to the community by being on this Clubhouse every day, talking to people, learning before he entered the space. And then when he brought Time in, he knew how to do it. And the community supported him because we all had been talking to him, advising him, telling him, like, this is the way you should do it, really be a part of the community, join us, because this is a giant movement with all of us together.
So, like, what is Time putting on the blockchain? Like, I understand blockchain is kind of this code or algorithm or, points of data that allows you to verify things all the way back to the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. And I think this is going to become more and more important because I've been thinking to myself, I've got like thousands of hours of video content up online. We're not close. We're there where somebody, if they were really vindictive, they could upload a bunch of my shit, write a script, and have me on a podcast saying some really racist stuff, which would destroy my mortgage business, right? Like, we're there. Somebody could do that tomorrow. And so having like a blockchain that can verify, no, what's the original data point of him actually saying something that's him? But what is the use case for Time Magazine or Nike to have their information on this blockchain and be able to be verified?
So back to what you're saying, though, provenance. That is really important on why blockchain is so
I'm an
important.
ignorant motherfucker. Tell me what provenance is.
Provenance is the idea basically of where it came from, the original. The original. Where is this from? What's the history behind it, the provenance behind it, everything.
Yeah.
So blockchain verifies that provenance. It verifies that history. So when you look at something like, I'm going to take time out of it and let's just look at, Polygon and what they're using with the reward system. I believe why they're on the Polygon blockchain and why they're using, and I'm probably totally wrong about this, I should probably call Mel, but I think the reason they're using the Polygon blockchain, it's cheap transactions as opposed to using what else is available? They can create their own reward system on their own servers. But then that shit gets outdated. They have to deal with it constantly, updating. They have to have somebody. If you just use a blockchain, you can do it all through that. And I think maybe that's why, is they're using the blockchain. I could be totally wrong about this. I'm like best friends with the person who onboards them all, and I don't ever ask her why they do it.
Yeah.
I probably should. But when it came to time...
Can we have her on the podcast?
I know, you, dude. Really, dude. You really should. She's a fucking genius. She creates the tokenomics for all of these companies.
Interesting.
Absolutely brilliant. When I say tokenomics, like she creates the USD tokenomic structure for companies.
Okay, so here's another word that you have to explain everything you just said because you might as well have been speaking Russian.
Tokenomics.
Tokenomics. What is a token? Why does it matter? Who has tokens?
So tokenomics is like basically the fundamentals, the actual structure, the infrastructure of a coin. How it's created, how much liquidity is available, what the liquidity pool is, the tokenomics of it. So does it yield tokens? Does it give you more? How does it, is it a quadratic fund? All of these different things, and how does it make more money? Is it deflationary? And so what she does is she creates tokenomics for these large brands to be able to onboard into these systems.
So she's basically creating economic systems. If
literally an entire ecosystem.
So let's say Nike said, hey, we want to have a Nike coin. I don't know if they do or not.
Dot swoosh.
Dot swoosh. Okay, so let's say Nike comes in. They say, hey, we want to have dot swoosh. We want to create brand loyalty. We want to have something that is maybe a store of value. So every time you buy a pair of Jordans, you get a dot swoosh. Mm-hmm. You get a swoosh coin or whatever.
Yeah, rewards.
You get a reward swoosh coin. And one day, I don't know, 30 years from now, you might be able to trade in 400 swoosh coins for dinner with whoever the best basketball player in the country is at the time because Nike just sponsored them. Like, am I thinking about this correctly? Of like,
yes,
they're creating an economic system within their own confines.
Yeah. So it's kind of like what is important about crypto. Like you go back to that. Like, what are the better things? So it's earn to play or play to earn, whatever the fuck it is. But you're playing and you earn money, right? So I'm going to give you an example. There's something called ENS. And ENS is your .eth address. So like, for example, I could buy johnknopf.eth and then you can send me money to johnknopf.eth, Ethereum, to that wallet.
So I can buy scottgroves.eth.
Yep.
And if somebody just loves my coaching call, they can like basically tip me.
Yep.
By sending it
to your wallet. It's your wallet address. Like my friend went around and bought all the casinos and clubs.
Chris, can you please go buy scottgroves.eth?
Yeah, just
immediately.
Go to ENS and buy it.
ENS.com?
Yeah, not ENS.com. Just Google ENS and make sure we're in the right place. But ENS, maybe like ENS. IO.app, some shit like that. We'll find it.
So I'll hopefully be able to buy scottgroves.eth.
Yep. And so people can send you direct money. But here's the idea, right? Like when we bought into GoDaddy and we bought our own websites, we paid, $20 or whatever. You own the domain, whatever the case may be, right? Did they ever give you any money back?
No, of course not.
No, you pay them every fucking year, right?
Yeah, it's an ongoing fee.
Okay, well, I paid for johnknopf.eth and a couple other, I think I bought like 20 or 30 .eths or whatever, and I think I paid, let's say, a couple $100. I made $40,000 off the airdrop that they sent me. Now, how does this work, right? They rewarded me. So I bought in early by buying a .eth address, by buying, my own ETH address, and what that did, and I don't exactly know how to explain airdrops other than the company that you believed in is now airdropping you a token. Does it have any value at the moment? No, but it creates a market for that token. So immediately when I was dropped that token, it was immediately worth $40,000 because a liquidity pool was created, people were buying and selling it, a market was immediately created.
I mean,
they rewarded me.
Part of me wants to say this is all crazy. Part of me wants to say this is all crazy, but we have a few examples of this. Of like, there are YouTube channels out the yin yang on getting coveted mileage reward points, right? Mm-hmm. Like airline reward points are just its own version of tokenization. Totally. They're just managing it through some archaic CRM versus on the blockchain. Yeah,
you can buy them OTC, you can buy miles.
Yeah. You can buy miles, you can sell miles, you can trade miles. Mm-hmm. It's like you get to 1 million miles, you get this. So we have a model for this. Mm-hmm. And then I wonder if we can insert this, Chris, without copyright violation. Where there's that great scene in come on, what is the name of the movie? The one about the financial crash with Brad Pitt and Christian Bale.
Oh fuck, I know what you.
Come on, the book was written by Michael Lewis. It's not Moneyball. It is The Big Short.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Fucking love that movie.
There's a great scene where they're at the blackjack table and they're like trying to explain collateralized and synthetic CDOs, and they're like, well, this guy, he's got a 19 against a 15, so he's going to bet. But then this guy's going to bet on that bet, and then this guy's going to bet on that bet.
And then he's going to bet on that, yep.
Yeah, and then it goes all that way down the line, and now all of a sudden there's like $14 million hedged on this one $10,000 bet. Yeah, put on one little thing. So it's like we have models of these weird like synthetic financial markets being created. The scary thing is like many of them crash.
Right. And that's what, like a lot of us thought when I got airdrops, I sold them immediately because I was like, this shit's going to crash. It's taxable. I'm going to fucking sell this immediately. A lot of them went up.
Yeah.
Like if I had held Optimism, which was one that we got for being creators. So if you were an artist on the blockchain early on, Optimism rewarded a bunch of us with their token. That token, I think, I don't know, let's just say it was worth $1 when I got it. Now it's worth like $3 or $4. At 4x, because people believe in these systems. They're DAOs, there's systems, there's companies. These DAO infrastructures are just mind-blowing. It's basically like a company without a bunch of bullshit involved.
Okay, you're going to have to explain another term, DAOs?
Yep, DAOs are decentralized autonomous organizations, and these are how these crypto companies are kind of formed, is through these DAOs. There's all different DAOs. And
so DAOs like the modern LLC without all the fluff?
Kind of. It's like everybody has a piece of it, though. So everybody can vote. The more tokens you own, the more you can vote. But let's say, for example, let's say I wanted to start a company tomorrow. And I'm going to give Rug Radio, for example. We started Rug Radio, which was a decentralized media company on the blockchain. We started it about 2 years ago. And I think maybe about $100 million worth of volume has flowed through this company at this point. And I have nothing to do with it anymore. I just helped kind of found it and build it up. And, the CEO is now Farouk and Loxley, I believe, and they're killing it. And they've taken it to a whole nother level. But the idea originally, and still is the idea is to create a reward system, okay? So this is where it gets really interesting. A decentralized, we were sitting on spaces on like Clubhouse, except Twitter spaces. Everyone's listening to us. We have like 400 listeners. They're vibing with us. And Farouk gets this message that says, hey, I wish I could listen to you guys all night, but I got to go to my fucking job where I make $10 an hour. And folks like on stage like, God, I wish we could like pay this guy to like listen to us. Like everyone should be paid to just chill with us and hang out. And I'm like, I've been talking to my friend Mel about this, about universal basic income and how we could create a quadratic fund to like pay people back and yield tokens and create a governance token. Now, I know this is like a bunch of fucking words, but I'm going to explain. So what we did was we created a token called the Rug Radio token, essentially. And what that was is an NFT, and it yielded more tokens. And these tokens, they were worth nothing. They're not worth anything. They're not worth a penny. The idea is governance. So they're part of a DAO. And you can govern, you have control, you can make votes, you can change things, you can control the company, essentially, if you own enough of this, right? So the more tokens you accumulate, the more changes you can make within the ecosystem.
All right, so let me take this back 12, 15 years and see if I'm understanding this correctly. Let's say Joe Rogan was way ahead of the curve, and he created a DAO. And he was like, hey, you know what we're going to do is every time Scott logs on to podcast number 7, which sucked. God, they were so bad back then. But he was interviewing enough UFC stars that I wanted to listen to, that I've been a long time listener since like probably when they hit around 100 episodes.
Yeah, me too.
So, okay. So if he had started this way back then, he could have rewarded listeners with these tokens.
Correct.
We would have had voting shares in the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yes.
And then 10 years later, when it's like, hey, DAO owners, you have all these tokens because you were my early adopters, you were my early listeners. Scott's a 0.007% owner of the Joe Rogan podcast, and you're a 1% owner of the podcast. We're all going to have a vote because we've got a $100 million contract on the table with YouTube and a $100 million contract on the table with Spotify. And Joe's going to get 50% of that because he's the talent. But the early adopters and the early listeners who have these voting tokens, now, congratulations, you get your payday for being an early adopter because Spotify just gave us $100 million. Am I conceptualizing this correct?
That's a piece of it, absolutely. And then there's other pieces of it, and I don't fully understand this because I'm not ultra degen enough to understand this, but I believe what they do is they create liquidity pools based on the token. So like, let's say we created Rogan token, right? But it's not worth anything. It's just a governance token. But like OTC kind of an idea, someone creates a liquidity pool. And then all of a sudden it's worth money.
Somebody's willing to buy it.
Someone wants to buy that shit. And now all of a sudden it's being traded. And now all of a sudden all these tokens are going back and forth, and it's going up and up and up, and it's accumulating value, or it crashes. But that's the idea.
So for people that don't understand, you use the term OTC, over the counter.
Yes.
This is how penny stocks are traded. So for people that don't understand, John and I, we create Scott's podcast studio penny stock. And there's a bunch of steps that you have to go, but we're not quite big enough to be traded on the NASDAQ or traded on the S&P or the Dow. Sorry, not the S&P, the Dow. So we can't really sell our stock anywhere. It's worth 2 pennies. So we go to the over-the-counter trading market, and we put some words out there on I don't know, forums and Reddit and whatnot. We're like, hey, we've got this idea. We're selling $100,000 worth of penny stock in the Scott Groves podcast collective. And either we do something and we make a business out of it and those people get rich, or more times than not, it goes to zero. And this exact thing that people are criticizing crypto for is the exact thing that happens to all penny stocks. And some penny stocks become big stocks. And some companies like Zoom are big enough before they issue stock that they can go public on the Dow like day one. But this is how penny stocks work. This is not that uncommon. It's just a different term.
It's a decentralized version of it. That's all. You're not having to go through all the paperwork. I don't have to register. I don't have to do all this stuff. There's nothing to register. It's a governance token. There's no money. There's no money exchange. So I'm not doing anything illegal. There's nothing to be the SEC involved. It's a governance token. So therefore, all you have is voting power. You're not getting any money. Now, if someone opens a liquidity pool, it's not my problem.
Liquidity pool meaning somebody steps up and says, hey, I think the Scott Groves token is going to be worth something because they've already opened 4 of their podcast studios. I'm going to put up money to buy other people's tokens. And now, boom, there's liquidity overnight. Now your token is worth something.
Yes, and that's what people do. So when we opened our Rug Radio, when we did that, someone immediately opened a liquidity token. And immediately you could start cashing out Rug tokens. So and we did not do this. We had nothing to do with this. Somebody else went ahead and created a liquidity token. They thought it was worth money. So we didn't promote it. We didn't talk about it, obviously. But people started selling their Rug tokens. So they got NFTs that yield Rug tokens for just listening to us. And then they made money off these Rug tokens by selling them. I don't know how much anybody made. I don't even know if people made money. But that was the idea, is that there was some kind of liquidity pool created by somebody. And all of a sudden they started cashing out. The idea for us was we wanted to create a company and create governance around it so that it was for the people, by the people.
So it's kind of like they can upvote the ideas. They can, the governance people can say, hey, no, we want you to be on Clubhouse on Thursday night instead of Tuesday night.
And they control the treasury. I mean, if, for example, it accumulated, I don't know, like 20,000 ETH in volume, and then we get 10% of that. So think of 2,000 ETH, and at the time at $4,000, it was a lot of money. That's all within the treasury.
$800,000 in the treasury of the coin.
No, not the coin, the actual. So when an NFT is exchanged on like OpenSea, Magic Eden, any of these platforms, when someone buys an NFT, right, and these NFTs are yielding tokens, someone buys an NFT. Let's say they buy it for $100, and if OpenSea gets like 5%, we get 5%. We get 5% of that transaction. So $10, whatever.
So here's another term we have to define. Tell people what an NFT is.
Okay, so an NFT, non-fungible token.
Yeah, that rolls off the tongue.
Right, it's like, what the fuck is that? So I'm just going to kind of go back into where I found NFTs and kind of it made sense to me.
By the way, shout out to this Voodoo Ranger
amazing
Juicy Haze IPA. It's actually pretty
sponsor
good, right?
this podcast because this is amazing shit.
They can give us $1 just so I can call them an official sponsor.
That'd be fair.
It'd be totally worth it. Yeah. And with my 300 listeners, that would probably be about what the exchange rate would be. So anyway.
We used to sit on Rug Radio and say, sponsored by Dyson. The vacuum cleaner will clean your rugs.
I love it.
Yeah. So
so non-fungible token. Let's talk about how you got into NFTs, because that's where you've made like some big boy money.
That's definitely where I figured out how to upload my art, and that's what NFTs are, right? So this will give you an idea of how I see NFTs, because most people look at NFTs and they see the apes, they see the cats, they see stupid shit trading back and forth, and they go, this is just cartoon bullshit. But when I got into NFTs, it was on Clubhouse. It was in 2020, and I was running the flat earth rooms, I was running the stupidest fucking rooms, and one night, I was during the pandemic, I had like a couple shots, and I wasn't drinking during the pandemic because all I was doing was grinding, trying to learn, and I was trading stocks at the time, and it was just crazy, and I just dived a little bit into crypto. So I had a little bit, I understood it a little bit, but I didn't fully understand what crypto meant. And then I see this NFT room, and I was like, I've heard about NFTs from this guy, Gary Vee, and I do own some virtual land on this fucking website called Earth 2, so I kind of like have an idea of what this NFT shit is, and it was an NFT photography room, and I was like, well, what does that have to do with photography? And it was the very first...
And you're a lifelong photographer.
I'm a lifelong photographer. I've been doing it for 15 years. This is my passion, my love, my joy. This is how I've made primarily my income, is selling prints for the last 15 years. That's how I've made my income. So when I found this room, and I go, this is interesting. NFTs photography was the first room of its kind. No one had ever opened one of these rooms. It was a couple photographers just talking about NFTs. They didn't really understand it. They didn't really know it. And it's like, what is this, right? Well, what are NFTs? So I thought it was like something where I had to like split up my work and give pieces and JPEGs and they own the rights and they can print it. I didn't fully understand what an NFT was. So we sat down, we talked about it, we explained it, we looked into things, we talked to people on Clubhouse and started really absorbing it. And we kept hearing NFTs really, photography is not made for NFTs. That's just not possible. There's no way that you guys can mint in, and what minting means is like creating a coin. Like when you mint a dollar, it's minting it. So minting an NFT is like minting a token. It's literally a token. It's like Ethereum. It's like any token.
And so this goes back to provenance, right? Because then you can prove that picture is the original one.
Correct. And what's really cool is because AI just recently, came out in the last 6 months and it's just destroying, photography brand in the sense that nobody knows what's real anymore. My shit's on the blockchain. I can prove that was made before AI. That's real photography. And I think that's what's so cool about it is it's proving the provenance of where it came from. But what really excited me about the idea of NFTs and what really drew me in was the idea of how to distribute art democratize art. And by that, I mean, how can we get it to other people without having a third party involved, a middleman? We always
you don't want to pay Sotheby's 10%, 15% for saying 100,000,
exactly.
102,000. We will verify that this is John Knopf's art. 103,000, and they're just fucking printing money.
Exactly.
10%. Some of those places make like 30, 40% off the sale.
The ultimate, right? These auction houses are just, and they're gatekeepers essentially because they say whose art is good and whose art isn't. And it's like, are these guys even fucking artists?
Right.
They're auctioneers.
And sometimes they make fake art real. Like, I don't know if you've watched that documentary on The Last Da Vinci.
Bro.
I mean,
fascinating.
Fucking fake, dude. It's a fake Da Vinci, and somehow the auction houses created a market for it and turned it into whatever the hell it was. You're gonna have to look at that, Chris. What did The Last Da Vinci sell for? Like 200 million or something like that, and it's kind of arguably not a Da Vinci.
Right. How do we prove the provenance, right?
Yeah, you have because blockchain not around in the Enlightenment. No.
450.3 million.
450 million, like just made out of thin air.
This article came out in November 15th, 2017.
Yeah, so it's probably worth more today.
Fucking art.
Art, yes. Art. No provenance.
Art. So that immediately this excited me was the idea that there is a provenance obviously for it, but it's what else can we do with this? How do we digitize? How do we democratize? What is this? So I looked at it as a way to get, and it's everyone looks at, Web 2, Web 3. What is Web 2? And Web 2 is the old model of Instagram, Facebook, where you don't really pay them. They data mine you and they sell your data and you're not paying for anything. So therefore you're the product.
Right.
Well, I looked at crypto and I thought, I own my Instagram essentially. Instagram, you could get blocked tomorrow and then that's it. Let's say you had 20 million followers and that's how you make your income. And Instagram goes, he's a fucking Nazi or some shit. And they just fucking close your account.
Dude, I was at Alex Hermosi's business fair and he owns acquisitions.com. They're getting about 3,000 inquiries a month of companies who want to partner with them, give up 25% equity, and they buy into it. They bring in their board of directors, and they take the company to the moon, and then they exit a couple years later.
Right.
They've invested in 12. They're looking at 3,000 a month, and they've invested in 12. And he said that they were this close to investing in a company. They did some specialty drink. I don't know if it was energy drinks or almond milk or whatever the fuck they did. But this company had seen explosive growth. And they were the most, he was telling the story, that they were the most politically neutral. They weren't even doing sexy bikini ads to sell their drink. There was nothing weird about them. But they were acquisitions.com was super close to pulling the trigger and investing in them and coming in. And through some dumb luck, still has never been explained why, no customer service number, this company was spending $1 million a month on Facebook ads. That's how they were building their business. For some reason that nobody's ever been able to explain, they got locked out of their Facebook account. Two-step verification didn't work. Their customer service rep
should be rewarded
at Facebook,
for that shit, not blocked.
Yeah. No, they were completely blocked. And within 3 or 4 months, because they're a super large, low margin, and for people that don't know the drink industry, when you can, 1 million Voodoo Ranger beers, that's a lot of money you have in float until it sells. Yep. It completely bankrupted the company in 3 months because they couldn't get their ad accounts put back up. And so they were completely at the whim. It's something that they had no control over. So just, fuel to your fire of like, fuck Instagram and Facebook if that's where you're making your money.
Well, this is why I think Web3 and crypto will win because it's centralized entities that control your livelihood. USD, centralized. Banking systems, centralized.
Social media.
Centralized. We need decentralization. And everyone goes, well, decentralization is fucking anarchy. Yeah, without education, sure. We don't fucking learn how to use it. Absolutely.
Well, if you don't think we have anarchy right now, when
look around,
a dozen eggs cost you $18 if you want the good field raised ones.
We're all watching the State of the Union, just waiting for the guy to drop. So fucking anarchy and chaos, just fucking, it's like it's constantly. It's just we're all just waiting for that shoe to drop.
I mean, think about the next presidential election. Is literally going to be two guys on stage trying to convince the nation which one is less senile.
Which one is less fucking crazy. Exactly. Yeah. It's absolutely fucking insane what we're dealing with right now. Two 80-year-old men battling out on which one's less fucking senile. And this is what we have.
And both of them likely to shit their pants on stage. And this is the best that we have to run our country.
This is the best we can fucking do. And that's what tells you. It's like only these people want to step up and do it. Because this is fucked. This whole situation is fucked. We need to really understand what we're doing here and how it's completely centralized. And going back to like Instagram, Facebook, all that shit, you own nothing. They own you. I'd rather pay Twitter fucking $20 a month and at least own my fucking account.
Yeah.
I'd rather be decentralized. And it's like the same with NFTs, with crypto. You own these assets. They can't take it from you. I own my .eth address. No one's fucking taking that. No one can ever take that. It's decentralized. Like, let's say I do some shit and whatever, and there's like, you shouldn't have that .eth. You can't fucking take it from me.
Right.
It's on the blockchain.
Do you think, I think this, tell me if you think this is true. Do you think the reason why Elon changed Twitter to X, and he obviously has a history in payment systems, and they're trying to wean down the staff from like 100,000 to like 800 developers, do you think he's going this direction if he wants X to be a blockchain, decentralized social media and payment platform to where you will be able to say, okay, yeah, I'm verified for $8, but I want the $20 version where I can say anything I fucking want. And maybe there's a, parental advisory that comes up before somebody looks at John Knopf's account. But I really think he's going this direction where it's like, this is the Wild West because it's truly decentralized. Your payment is linked to your X account. Your mortgage is linked to your X account. Like, I think that's the direction he's going. He wants X to be your one-stop decentralized social media and financial page. I think. I could be totally wrong.
China has WeChat. We need Twitter. They have WeChat where everybody's communicating on that. And I think what he's trying to create is the town square, the decentralized town square where we can all get together and discuss this shit because there is no, that's what the internet created was a town square for all of us to start communicate. That's where all this shit started coming out. That's where we're going into like this whole like kind of like woke era where we're like figuring out what the fuck is going on with this country. And because we're all able to communicate. So if you create a decentralized space where everybody's allowed, Donald Trump, fucking Kanye, whoever wants to be on there should be on there because it's a two-way street. If you want decentralization, then you have to put up with Nazi bullshit and you have to block it out of your face. That's the difference. Change the fucking channel. It's like you have to allow.
Why is that so hard for people to just change the channel? I know we're gonna go political here, but it's like if I'm flipping through Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or whatever, and I see something I don't like, the last thing I think about doing is like, I'm gonna boycott these people. I'm gonna start a petition. I'm gonna leave nasty comments. It's like maybe I do a thumbs down and I move on. Like my thought to ever censor it is like, no.
Did you ever read a fucking George Orwell novel? Like Jesus Christ, people, censorship is the death of us.
No, they really thought it was like they thought it was a to-do. They thought it was like
let's burn some fucking books.
Yeah, they thought it was a manual.
It's like, come on, guys. Like, you literally took it seriously and thought that like Mein Kampf is a fucking manual to the future. And it's like, guys, really fucking sit back and think about what you're doing, how you're creating this future generation and what they're going to believe in. And when you think about like decentralization and how we're kind of creating the future for the next generation, that's kind of like the ultimate dream, right? Of like owning your own shit, not having the government meddle with your bullshit. I don't like the fact that anyone could shut my Instagram account down tomorrow. I like the idea that in crypto, I own that. And I think that's what Elon's ultimate goal is with X. If you go back to Elon's like very beginning days of PayPal, he wanted to create PayPal to create a currency.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people knew that, is that he wanted to create his own currency. That was the idea of PayPal, was like almost like the first fucking crypto before crypto existed. PayPal was going to be a PayPal currency. I think it was actually going to be called fucking X. And he wanted to basically decentralize this, right? That's why I think he created Bitcoin, man. Is like he wanted to create fucking decentralized.
Do you think Elon created Bitcoin?
I 100% do. A lot of people disagree, but think about this. He wanted to create a decentralized currency, and the government stepped in and said, no, if you do this, we shut everything down. PayPal's done all of this. The government was the one who stopped him from creating PayPal currency.
Yeah, and then he sold out for, big money.
Sold out to make Tesla, to make his dream, which I don't think was his dream. His ultimate dream is fucking X.
Yeah.
To finally create his decentralized space. Fuck you, government.
Yeah.
I did it. It took me 20 years, but I got my fucking currency.
Yeah.
I did it. And I think what he did, created Bitcoin, and now is creating the ultimate exchange. He's saying that X will not be a decentralized exchange for currency. I don't know. I think it's a reward system. I think it's going to pay out people way better than Instagram ever did, because you're going to be paid on ad revenue.
So here's the thing that I don't understand, because can you, before we go into my conspiracy theory here, or my desire, can you explain to people what Web 1, Web 2, Web 3 is?
Sure. So Web 1, I believe, was the BBS system, bulletin board system. I could be wrong, but I think that was Web 1.
Yeah,
right? Like
AOL Messenger.
No, before that.
Before that. Oh.
So I was in BBS days where you would actually dial up a number, and then you could be on a board and you could communicate with each other. So you'd have to literally use...
You'd have to know the phone number.
Yeah, you'd have to use like Telnet or... Fuck, I don't even remember what we used back. I was like in fucking 6th grade, dude. But we would dial up a number, and that's how you'd communicate. Even AOL had its own BBS.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so you could actually dial up AOL's BBS.
Because the AOL Messenger and chat board, that was like revolutionary, because now everybody will have access to it.
You could point and click.
Yeah.
You could use a mouse as opposed to fucking commands, because BBS's was straight commands on DOS, prompts and shit like that, and you had to use a Telnet or hack. I don't even remember what it was, and you would communicate back, and that was Web 1, I think, where we would kind of communicate back and forth through these landlines and shit like that, and we would post things on bulletin boards, and there was all kinds of ways to communicate, and then you had Web 2, where ISPs created, AOL, we had CompuServe, Prodigy, and that's where we could communicate through chat rooms, bigger ones, global audiences. And then all of a sudden, Web 3 came along, where we had crypto, where all of a sudden decentralization, the idea of no longer central entities owning these .com companies. You own part of it, everybody, because it's the fucking people's. It's not Mark Zuckerberg.
Right.
It's the people, man. We make the social media. Why shouldn't we own our own identities? We don't own our identity, man. That's the craziest thing. We literally don't own our own identity. Everybody else does. That's fucked up. How hard have we put into, promoting our Instagram accounts, working on them, and all of a sudden somebody else owns that shit? I want to own my own identity. I don't want to have to ever deal with a middleman ever again. I want permissionless transactions.
Mm-hmm. And with that comes the propensity, well, I was going to say the threat, but I would say more the propensity for the scam artists, right?
Mm-hmm. And where there's money, there's going to be scams.
And the hackers, and the this, and the money laundering.
It's literally the Wild West.
Yeah. And, it's funny. Well, it's not funny. It's kind of sad. I think of these three parallels. In one bucket, you have Lyft, Uber, Airbnb. And on the other bucket, you have online poker. And all of them were breaking the law. Airbnb was blatantly breaking the law. Now, I don't think that law should exist. I don't think it was a just law, so I don't really care.
Right.
But they were, in fact, breaking the law of getting around hotel registrations and zoning and et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Uber was like a gypsy taxi, is what they called it.
Exactly, gypsy taxi. So they were getting around the regulation of the taxi and the Highway Board of Safety or whatever it is. So they were, in fact, breaking the law. And if you, again, I don't think it was a just law, but online poker, party poker and full tilt and all of these, they were breaking the law because they weren't registering financial transactions and they weren't tracking money movement and stuff. Yeah. But it was basically like, okay, who could get to critical mass and public adoption fast enough that they could just continue to fly in the face of the law, and they get big enough where the law has to adapt to them.
Right.
Lyft and Airbnb got there, online poker didn't, and on Black Friday they shut it down and just confiscated everybody's money. It was super fucked up.
I remember.
And so it feels like crypto's in this space of can it get big enough fast enough where the laws can't catch up and it can stay decentralized, or will there be something like the Sam Bankman-Fried, Freud, whatever his name is, that crashes it so badly and injures so many people that there's this public outcry for centralization and legalization and monitoring and, legal intervention and whatnot? Have we already passed the Rubicon where they're not going to be able to do that? Or where are we at in the the threat level assessment of taking decentralized and the government stepping in and making it centralized?
One, we need clarity and regulations. That's the most important thing.
You might be the first crypto bro I've ever heard say the word regulation.
Oh, yeah, we need clarity and we need regulation. No question about that. We are wanting an unregulated market, and that's the problem.
By the way, this is going to be the bumper for the podcast because you might be the first crypto bro ever on the history of the internet to say that we need clarity and regulation. So explain why you think that's important. Because like when people think libertarianism, decentralization, the last thing they think is regulation.
Right. Well, if we had regulation, we wouldn't have SBF. And SBF was the reason that I mean, crypto bros, fuck that. Think about Bitcoin miners. Guys who got into Bitcoin in 2010 when it came out were selling their Bitcoin because they had lost all faith. I saw people moving, ancient Bitcoin and selling it. And that's what scared everybody. A lot of people lost faith in the bear market in crypto. When it went down to $8,000, BTC, and everyone's just losing faith because it's like all these scams from SBF to Binance with CZ. It's Do Kwon with Luna. It just continuously fucking scam after scam. We need regulation. We are begging the government for regulation. We need fucking clarity because we don't know what we're doing, and neither do accountants, and nobody knows what the fuck is going on, and we need it. I mean, Coinbase is suing the government because they need regulation. And they didn't have to take that extreme measure, but that's all they could do.
Right.
There's nothing left. It's like we need some clarity so that we can move forward with this. And if there was, here's the biggest issue. FTX was audited by the government. It was traded. It had been audited by the SEC. Gary Gensler, the whole auditing company. This is what should be investigated. How the fuck did an auditing company not notice that this guy is using Quicken and fucking Excel spreadsheets to control their funds? How did they not catch on to any of this shit? You want to know why? Because he's a huge contributor to all of the political parties, from Democrats to Republicans. This is the fucking problem, is that we're letting everybody just run around because they're kids, right?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden the parents are starting to come home. That's what I'm noticing, is that the kids have been out and play, they're fucking partying, they're doing whatever they want, but the parents are starting to come home now. They're starting to go, all right, kids, no more late night parties. Let's calm it down a little bit. When I first got into crypto and NFT events in 2020, we went to NFT NYC. Fucking crypto bros everywhere, screaming apes. It was just madness, right? As we slowly get into more blockchain events, it's less and less about let's fucking go, let's go to the moon, and more about what are we building for the future of blockchain tech, because it's not about getting rich, in my opinion, with this blockchain tech. It is literally the future of how we're going to control finance, how we're going to control records, from health records to how housing sales. Everything will be controlled on the blockchain. And everything, in my opinion, like right now, when you look at it, from art to records, everything is I don't know what the word is, but it can be destroyed. It can be ruined. Art can be gone tomorrow if it burns down. Records can burn down. But the blockchain is essentially forever. It's gonna keep going, and it's gonna have the records on there forever. And that's the whole idea, right? It's not gonna if I want to put art on the blockchain, it's going to be there forever. And let's look at an example of like Picasso, or not Picasso, but like old paintings like Monet and things like that, right? Let's look at the original Mona Lisa. It's been painted over hundreds of times, right? It's been fixed, it's been thrown at, fucking people have fucked it up. Is it really the original Mona Lisa anymore, or is it somebody else who's just completely redesigned it? That's not the original Mona Lisa.
This is the argument about the boat. What's the famous Viking boat?
Exactly.
Where, if you replace each plank and then eventually the boat is no longer any portion of its original.
It's not the original.
It's not. Is it still the original?
Right. That's the question. In my opinion, fuck no, it's not. The Mona Lisa is not original. I know this is going to sound bad, but I don't care about seeing the Mona Lisa.
Right.
It's not original. It's not the original piece.
Underwhelming, dude.
It's honestly
underwhelming.
I saw Starry Night. Van Gogh's cool, but
it's much smaller than I expected.
It's a lot smaller. It's funny, yeah. Anyway, so when you think about that and how it can be destroyed, well, the blockchain's going to keep this, right? My art, it maybe last 100 years in print, but on the blockchain, forever. And that's the idea. You own
until we have a solar flare. Oh, we both beat me to it. God damn it! Solar flare wipes out everything.
God damn it! Don't fuck my bags, man.
But when you're talking about like medical being on the blockchain and stuff, anybody who is skeptical of the blockchain, just let me walk you through the frustration of you go to the dentist's office. I don't know. You go every fucking 6 months for your entire life. and you're 45 and you move from LA to Vegas, and guess what you have to fill out all over again? Your medical history. The number of times I've written down I'm allergic to penicillin, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. Shouldn't this be somewhere by now?
No
Shouldn't
shit.
this be on something? Because guess what? If I have like a cardiac arrest, I mean, penicillin doesn't solve cardiac arrest, but let's say I was allergic to something that that solves cardiac arrest, and the paramedic pulls up. Even though I've written this down 100 times that I'm allergic to this shit, they have no clue, right? It doesn't live anywhere. It's not part of my permanent health record. And, you know, I guess if you didn't want to be discriminating your place of work and you had a heart condition or you had HIV or something, yeah, that would probably be much more scary to have all of your health information out there on the blockchain in case somebody hacked it. So I get the privacy concerns. But for goodness sakes, man, I am so sick of filling out shit at the DMV and work histories and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Voting.
Like, come on. How is it that, I don't know, America's Got Talent can tally hundreds of millions of votes in 17 minutes and be like, your winner is Chris DeRosa on the cello.
Right.
And in voting, we're like 3 months later, fuck, who won? We got hanging chads and we've got like disputes and there was ballots that came in past midnight. Oh, wait, can those be validated? Because Gavin Newsom just signed a form and changed the state constitution without proper legal like precedent to do that. Like, how does any of this happen in 2024?
The infrastructure is so fucking archaic. It's like using landlines, you know, it's like the power lines that we have for fucking landlines anymore. Who the fuck uses landlines? Right. The infrastructure is just so archaic, and that's the biggest issue, is that we're looking at how do we continue, you know, using the same system. Stop fucking using it. Yeah. It's like, if I want to send my records to the doctors, they send them to the doctor, right? They use a fucking fax machine.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you using a fax machine for? It's 2024. You got to fax my records to this dentist and it's going to take 2 hours. It's like, this should already be available. The same goes to like applying for a home loan or a HELOC or anything. Yeah. There are so many goddamn steps, from verifying income to verifying, you know, is there a lien on the house? Well, do you have solar panels? Is there, you know, do you owe anything? There are fucking signature, weeks and weeks. If I want to take a loan on my fucking squiggle, which is just a squiggly ass line that's worth about $30,000 right now, I'll go online and get my fucking loan, and it'll take seconds. Yeah. I will click it and someone will take my 10% interest and we're done.
Dude, are you, you don't work in the mortgage industry like I do. So are you intimately familiar with title insurance? Do you know what this is? Okay. So when you bought your house, you probably didn't even notice it because you paid cash for whatever your house was worth. And somewhere on that line item, there was, I would guess, because I know what your house is worth, I know you probably paid about $4,000 for title insurance. Bullshit. And total bullshit. And all title insurance does is it insures the fact that the house that you're buying is currently owned by the person who's selling it. And it confirms that there's no other liens against the house from like a contractor or whatever. So think about this for a minute.
Insurance for that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the most expensive singular fee in the mortgage transaction. Not the underwriter, not the processor, not the appraiser, not the, you know, prepaid homeowner's insurance, the insurance you're buying. But here's the crazy thing. When you buy your insurance on January 1st for your house, you're insuring it for the future. So the insurance company comes in there and says, hey, you know, there's some cost of risk here because we don't know. Yeah, you have new construction. Yeah, you have sprinklers. Yeah, you're in a gated community, but there's a chance your house could fall down, or Scott could get bitten by your dog, or somebody could drown in your pool. So we're going to charge you $3,000 a year to insure your house in the future. Title insurance is the only insurance that goes in the past. So if you bought a house on January 1st, they're saying, oh yeah, the last 5 years, the person who owns the house actually owns the house, and now you're going to buy the house from them. Imagine if you showed up on January 1st, 2024, and your insurance company was like, all right, buddy, you didn't have any claims in 2023, so we're going to insure you for 2023. You'd be like, well, insurance is worthless if you're looking in the past. Like, title insurance should be on the blockchain tomorrow. And it's just bureaucracy and bullshit local, state, and federal regulation that even keeps this as a thing. Like, the entire title record for every house that ever has existed should be on the blockchain tomorrow, and title insurance should cost you about $50. Instead, it costs you several thousand because there's a title officer and there's a title salesman who has to go out and convince the agent to use their title insurance company instead of the other title insurance company. You wouldn't need insurance
if you had provenance.
Right.
If I could literally look where it's going. So when I bought my house, I had to wire the money, right? I had to transfer them. And you can look it up on fucking Google. You can Google my name. I bought my house. You can see what I bought it for. I bought it for $1.1 million. When I bought it, I had to wire transfer them $1.1 million. That's fucking scary as shit. I looked at my wife and I go, is this how we finally get scammed?
Right.
Is this the moment where I send it to the wrong wallet and they fucking, it goes to some scam artist and fucking.
And by the way, that's happened.
I believe it. So how do I do my due diligence? Okay, well, the company that I bought it from is Lennar and, all this. And is the guy I'm talking to real? Is any of this shit real? I don't know. I've been in crypto for so fucking long that I don't know if I'm being socially engineered. Right. I'm scared shitless to wire this money. I'm looking at my wife. We're fucking scared. And I'm like, how do we know this is the real number? If I had a way to verify that on the blockchain, look at, okay, this is Lennar's ETH address.
Right.
I know I am sending it because when I transfer it, I can literally watch it go into their account. I can watch the hash. I can see it move forward. I can see it get verified on the blockchain, confirmed, moved, fucking dope.
Yeah.
I didn't know where I'm sending this. And I'm like, this is it. I'm like, this is how we lost all of our crypto winnings.
Yeah.
Because all I did is I cashed out in crypto and decided I want to buy a house. That's my stable coin. Otherwise, I'm going to waste all this shit on my photography and travel the world.
Right.
And fucking go broke again. Not doing that.
By the way, unlike every other crypto bro I know who lost everything, you had a number in mind where you told your wife, yeah, okay, we could go to 100 million if the shit keeps going to the moon, but I have my fuck you number of like, I can buy my house cash. We got plenty of retirement money. Our kids are taken care of. Like, we're going to get out. Like, somehow you coming from really humble beginnings, some might even say poor,
very poor.
and living on like a shoestring budget of being a photographer, somehow you had the foresight to be like, I'm not going to get caught up in the fervor. I know that when I get to these numbers, I'm going to take some chips off the table after you made that first mistake. And I think unlike every crypto bro who has I ran it up, I lost it all story, you're like, oh no, I ran it up, I took chips off the table, I secured my future, and now I'm playing in the margin and once in a while buy a Joe Biden coin for $100 and make 25 grand.
Have fun, yeah.
But I'm sure dozens of times you've spent $100 and watched it go to zero.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to know when to say enough. And I think that's the biggest problem with crypto is that we get euphoric because we get caught up in this holy shit. Most of us that got into crypto in 2020, 21 had never seen gains like this in our entire life.
No one has.
No one. It's fucking just, it's just overnight, and just you would put $5,000 in something and it'd be $50,000 the next day. It was just absolutely insane. You'd buy an NFT for a couple $100 next morning. I remember I bought these stupid fucking toads. They were called cryptodes, and I bought them.
Kind of a catchy name.
Fucking hilarious, bro. They were genius. I bought them for like 1 ETH each at the time, like $4,000 a piece, right? A bunch of JPEGs of cryptodes. I bought like 8 of them, so I spent like let's say 8 times 4. $32,000. Bought these JPEGs, and I put them all up for 7 ETH, so 7x. Put them all for 7 ETH. The next morning, I woke up and all of them were gone. All my toads had been sold.
Wait, 7x on $30,000 you said?
On each toad. So I bought, let's say, 10 toads.
For what was your total investment?
1 ETH per toad, and then they all went to 7 ETH, so 7 times 4, so 28,000 per toad. And when I invested 32,000 total. $280,000.
So you made $250,000 overnight?
In a second.
What the fuck?
Woke up the next morning and I looked at my wife and I'm like, all my toads are gone. I'm like, we're going to Malibu and I'm renting a mansion. I'm sad.
Oh, wow. Dude, if I knew you during this run up, I would have punched you in the face. I'm like grinding my ass off to have my best year ever to make almost $1 million. And you're like, oh yeah, I made $250,000 last night on crypto toads.
On my way to fucking the Malibu mansion that we rented, I get a text from my friend Pussy Riot, who owns Pussy Riot Band, and she goes, "We're sending you an NFT. We're giving all of
Pussy Riot from
Russia.
Russia, yeah.
Yeah, good friend Nadia.
Awesome.
So good friend of mine. She texts me. She goes, "We're getting all our friends and supporters these NFTs." She created Fuck Hate was this NFT. She sent it to me, or I minted it, or whatever. I was like, "Babe, I got to pull over so I can mint this on the way to Malibu." I pull over and immediately get an offer for $16,000. I minted it for $100 and immediately get an offer for $16,000. I'm like, well, this just paid for our Malibu trip again, so let's just fucking sell that. It just continuously fucking... So no one had ever seen gains like this. We had never... Right. The euphoria sets in for a lot of people. My whole... I'm a lot older, I think, maybe than most of these guys. I don't know. But my idea is like, I need a house. I need to take my family to Disneyland. And I need to stop having to worry about selling my art to collectors. That is my goal. To stop having to suck rich dick, because I am tired of begging collectors to buy my art.
I mean, if you're going to suck dick, might as well be rich.
Might as well rich people.
Yeah, right.
Right, but they complain a lot about it, bro.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so I didn't want to do that anymore. I'm tired of grinding. I'm tired of opening galleries. I'm tired of dealing with employees. It's just like, it's turning my passion into a business, and it's fucking devastating. So I find this, and I'm like, this is enough. This is enough money. This is what I want. I told everybody, this is what I'm going for. This is my goal. I told everyone in chats. I put it out there into the world. I'm like, I am going to make this amount, and nothing in this fucking world will stop me. I was like dead set. And so when I minted apes, I'm just going to go back. When I minted apes, I minted these stupid JPEGs of apes for $200 a piece. I was on mushrooms at the time. I did not think it was a good idea, but the mushrooms pushed me. They were like, bro, these are funny.
Most people's genius or worst ideas come while on mushrooms or on cocaine.
On the mushrooms, bro.
This is why I can't do cocaine, because I would either be a billionaire or I'd be face down in a gutter in Tijuana.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah. It's like I would make some really brilliant business decisions, or I would be dead in Tijuana.
That's what my stepdad said about me at about 15.
Yeah. It's so funny. John Knopf, most likely to be a billionaire or dead in Tijuana.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And it almost ended up being dead in Tijuana. Let's put it that way.
Fair.
So I meant these stupid fucking things, and this was like at the middle of the night, right? Like it's like 1 a.m. I'm on mushrooms, high as shit. I was taking a break from Clubhouse. I had been going 6 months hard, every night on Clubhouse, running rooms
for like hours and hours and hours,
18 hours a day, answering questions about crypto, trying to onboard more people, convincing them we're not a scam and we're real. We are making money.
The funny thing is, after we got to know each other, like I Googled you, like all friends do these days, and I'm like, oh, this guy's like a really big fucking deal. Like his Twitter profile picture is actually a thing that like is worth money, and like people look up to him for advice, and like we're just the loser dads that are there watching our children pull off the same horrible jujitsu moves incorrectly over and over and over again. So it's funny getting to know somebody that has like such provenance in a certain area. And then we're just all the same dipshit dads at jujitsu who are like, you want to go get an iced tea? Yeah, let's go get iced tea.
No, dude, I stumbled upon something and I just had a lot of faith in it. You know, I just believed in what we were doing. And it's just, when you look at the whole overall spectrum of what crypto was when I got into it, it just made sense to me. I believe in, libertarianism. I believe in the freedom to choose. I believe in the freedom to transact. And so when I discovered this, I'm like, anarchy, fuck yeah. Like, this makes sense to me. I was like, I'm all for this. And that's like when I really, at the time, I had no money, dude, when I dove into crypto. I literally had made some money off stocks, enough to basically like buy my art back and my business back from investors, and was able to kind of like move forward with my art, but I didn't have much. And so when I got in, I spent maybe a couple $1,000s, and I didn't buy ETH. I think I had bought something else, and I think I'd made money off. That's what I did. I minted my first NFT, so I had to have ETH to do that. And then I made money off of that. I was like one of the first photographers to sell like a photo on the blockchain.
What was that photo?
It was
can we find it?
Yeah. It was of Antelope Valley. It was of this guy doing these really cool sparks in Antelope Valley. It was like I was one of like the first like Caucasian white dudes to go out to Antelope Valley at night and shoot this, which was like a huge opportunity for me. I had made friends with the Native American community, and they let me out there at night. So this was a really unique shot. Put it on the blockchain and sold immediately the first one. And I was like, okay, this is fucking cool. And I only made like $300. I was like, okay, whatever, that's cool. And so I was like, maybe there is something to this. And that's kind of like where I started diving in. So
do you have any idea what that $300 NFT is worth today?
That kid who owns my very first NFT, I would think it's worth quite a bit. If there's a buyer out there, a collector who's looking for that, that's the first one I ever minted in 10 years. I think that dude's sitting on fine wine right now. Very good champagne.
I should try to buy it from him.
You should. I don't think he'd sell it though. So, when I kind of like found this and found like there is money in this, that's kind of like when I started like diving into crypto and like really understanding like, okay, well, there's more to this than I thought. It's not just about getting rich. It could literally, like, I saw NFTs. I was like, this is a great get rich scheme. I can get rich really quick and bounce. But then I really started to understand. I was like, no, I'm here for the technology. I'm here for what this can do. Mm-hmm. And back then we were on Clubhouse, literally trading art back and forth and wasting gas money, which is transferring,
the fees.
Yeah, the fees. Basically back and forth. We're trading art because there's nobody buying our shit. There's no collectors in this.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, one night I get ripped off of some NFT that a girl had made that didn't really make the art. And I was really devastated over it because I had spent 1 ETH, which is around $1,800 at the time. Me and my friend Jen, we both bought it. And we were like, fuck, we got ripped off by this girl. And so we were kind of like fucked up over it. And we had been going hard for months, on Clubhouse. So I took some time, took like a day, took some mushrooms, balanced myself out. And I was like, 1 a.m, I'm going to check my Telegram, see what's going on in the photography chat, see what these fucking degens are talking about. And they're talking about these apes. And my friend Jeff Nicholas at the time is posting these apes and just fucking posting nonstop all these pictures.
Are these the Bored Ape?
These are the Bored Apes. This is the
they
original.
look photograph real of like apes.
This is the original of how the Bored Ape phenomenon started. All of this was started by, honestly, a crazy fucking DJ named Jeff Nicholas who just told everybody about it. Like, yes, there were some big buyers, Blau and I think Aoki, and like some guys really were buying the shit out of these. Pranksy at the time was a big NFT collector.
How many Bored Apes are there?
10,000.
There's 10,000
total.
Unique Bored Apes.
Took 4 days to mint, so it didn't even sell out. Took days for it to sell out. Nobody was buying this shit.
And what were they buying them for back then?
$200 a piece, which was 0.08 ETH.
Okay.
That's what you can
So you
mint.
started at 200.
Yep. So I bought a couple of them. I'm on mushrooms. Jeff texts me.
Chris, go look up what's the average Bored Ape NFT selling for right
They've
now?
crashed very hard. They're worth about 16, 17 ETH now. They've
Which is
crashed
like
50 grand.
50 grand.
Yeah.
At one
but
point
for
they were
200,
200 grand.
it's an insane gain.
Let's see what they're worth right now.
Yeah. So I see these, I buy a few, and then I'm like, these are fucking funny, so I buy more. And now I have to crack open my ledger on mushrooms because I got to get to my ETH to buy more of these fucking things. So I mint 13 of these stupid things.
Wait, what did you mint?
13 apes. 13 board
Didn't they
apes.
already exist?
When you mint, you're basically like, you're buying the token, and so therefore it mints. It creates, you don't know what you're buying when you buy them. You're getting like a fucking default avatar type thing. You don't even know what it is. You're just buying it and hoping to get something cool. So I mint, and I should show you what I got because I got all these fucking super rare ones. But I didn't know at the time. I'm sending them to my friend Jeff. I'm like, are these fucking cool? He's like, laser eyes, pizza face, fucking amazing, bro. These are so cool. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll keep them. And at the time, I'm driving bands to make money to different states. That's how I'm making my money because I can't make money in photography right now. My sales are dead. Fucking, pandemic hit, so no art sales, no gallery.
You're driving bands to Florida, New Mexico, and Texas where they can actually play or something,
Fucking
right?
San Francisco, they were actually able to play like corporate parties and private parties, so I'm driving.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, isn't that fucking interesting how rich private people can throw parties?
Yeah.
So I'm driving them all over the fucking place, making like, $500, $1,000 a gig and everything like that. I'm like, this is cool. And I'm on my way to San Francisco to, pick these guys up and fucking do their whole gig. We're at the hotel and I check my account. And we were actually sitting at the hotel and I'm talking to them about crypto and I'm explaining to them what NFTs are. I'm like, this is the future, guys. Like, you have to get in on this. This is the future. And they're like, yeah, whatever, you fucking apes. I go in my hotel room and all of a sudden my apes are worth $3,000, $4,000 a piece. And I'm like, what the fuck? 3 to 4. I spent 200. So I obviously sold one immediately. I'm like, babe, we made $4,000. We're fucking rich. I was like, I'm going to quit my job.
Yeah.
I was like, we don't have to work anymore. She's like, what? I'm like, we trade apes now. Like, this is our life.
Like, by the way, I know your wife. How the fuck is she so supportive of this in a moment when you had you really had entry-level knowledge?
Dude,
I know you guys had no money.
I spent our wedding money on it. I had guilted my mother into giving us $5,000 for our wedding because we got married in a drive-through so I could adopt Alice. That was literally happened during the pandemic. The courts wouldn't let me adopt Alice. We got married in a drive-through. My mom gave me $5,000 for the wedding, fucking present.
I hope you paid off her house or something.
No, we don't talk anymore.
Oh, Jesus.
Dude, I had to guilt her into that money. That's bullshit.
All right,
I don't have to guilt our parents into. That was the only money my mother has ever given me. That was a guilt trip.
Fair.
So I get this money, and I'm like, it's my money. I'm putting this into apes. That's what hits me in mushrooms. And we're 2 a.m. We're about to lay down, and it's like, I gotta say something. We're about to have sex. It's 2 a.m. We're in mushrooms. What are you doing? I'm like, I got to get up and mint these fucking apes. She's like, are you kidding me right now?
Oh my God.
She's
going to be so mad you told this story.
She's going to be so pissed.
Because I'm bringing it up tomorrow at Jiu-Jitsu. I'm going to be like, did you know that you foregoing sex was the #1 decision in your life?
That's what she said. That's what she says. She says this the next day. She's like, I'm so pissed at what happened last night, but if that's the fucking thing that changes our life, I'm never going to live this down. She's like, I'm going to remember this forever.
Amazing.
It was fucking ridiculous. It was like, so I minted these stupid things, used our $5,000 wedding money, bought these things, which we didn't have the money to buy them, but I was like, whatever, dude, these are funny. And because I was on mushrooms, I bought more than I should have. Thank God for the mushrooms. Next day.
Moral of the story, kids, do mushrooms, not cocaine or fentanyl.
Exactly. Stick to organic shit.
Yes.
But next thing you know, they're just going up and up, and I'm selling, I'm taking profits here and there because I've learned from the token before. But all of a sudden, now they're worth $500,000, million, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. And I had been so I had a space ape. This is the big ape that had a pipe and a space helmet, an astro helmet. And
you're going to have to bring up a picture, Chris, of the space ape.
Just look up John Knopf Bored Ape. and it'll pop up the space ape. So it pops, and I'm like, this is fucking cool. I have to keep this one. This is funny. It had laser eyes. It had Bitcoin laser eyes. It was a Bitcoin maxi. And I'm like, okay, this is a cool ape. And I'm going to hold on to this one. I had gotten an offer for 100 ETH at the time, which was around 300,000. We didn't have any money. And then I kept getting offers, and I got an offer for 150 ETH, and someone offered me like 400,000. And I was telling Jamie, we were like, I was like, babe.
Like, you're still broke at this point.
Broke.
And you have a $400,000 digital
fucking
piece
idiot.
of shit art.
Stupid as shit, dude. And I'm showing Jamie, I'm like, 400K. I'm like, nah, it's not enough. That doesn't change my life. I was like, I need life-changing money. $400,000.
You're broke. 400,000 changes your life, bro.
In my mind, I needed house, car, life-changing money, dream camera, travel money. I was tired of this. If it wasn't, I was either going to go big or go home. That was it. There was nothing else in my mind to it. So turn down offer after offer. Would get DMs, and I'd be like, sorry, dude. Nah, not gonna happen. And I'd go into the Discord, and the ape Discord, they'd be like, you fucking moron. Like, you're ruining the ape brand. Sell it. We would go to the moon because of you. It's like, nah, dude, I'm holding. And then this is the craziest story probably in fucking crypto history, and still gets talked about to today. So me and Jamie, we had made some money off of Cool Cats. I had sold some of my art. I had actually been like one of the first photographers to sell a piece for 23 ETH, which at the time was like $50,000. So I'd sold my
Are you
art.
allowed to say what these art pieces are? Or is there like non-disclosure stuff?
No, it's on foundation.app. It was my art. It's my photography. So I had put my photography on the blockchain, and I put it up for a lot of money because I believe in my art, and I've worked really fucking hard for it, and I wasn't going to sell it for pennies.
Dude, you have that one picture like through the cave out to the ocean.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not just saying this because we're friends. Like, I'm a big fan of like Ansel Adams and like
Me too.
nature art. That's a fucking beautiful picture, bro.
Thank you. That was like my early career. That was my second, third year into photography when I funded my trip to Maui.
That is a like spectacular photo. Anyway.
Side story, I had to go there like 3 times to get that and get the lighting right. Spent
Of course.
fortune on that shot. But anyway, put it all on the blockchain. I believe in my art. I'm going to put it up for 20, 30, things like that, because they're one of ones. You can't sell editions of these. That's it. Once they sell, the guy owns the piece, the NFT, So I put them up for what I think they're worth. One night, a guy comes in and buys them all. Literally sweeps my floor. Just buys my entire portfolio out. So overnight, we made like $100,000 off my art. And I was like in tears, obviously. That's the most money I've ever made off my art in one sitting. And I tell Jamie, we're crying. I'm like, obviously, we're going to go to Tahoe and celebrate and rent a house and go to the lake and enjoy our time. But what I did with that money is I decided to just reinvest and just keep moving forward, right? So I bought Cool Cats. I bought all these different fucking NFTs, made more money off of that money. But when it came down to it, I had made, a couple $100,000, and I was like, it's time to buy a leather couch. I deserve a leather couch. This is what I want. I've taken my family to Disneyland. We bought my friend's house. So basically my friend gave me a contract where we could buy his house from him once I made enough money. So he was selling to me for rent, paying rent. And eventually when I had the money, I could buy it from him. And he was going to buy another house. And he bought the other house. We were living in his house. I was trying to make enough money to buy this fucking house, getting offers on these JPEGs, turning them down. Then we're in the fucking furniture store and we're looking at leather couches. And I see this email pop up from this guy named Deepak. I'm like, okay, and no offense, but that seems like, obviously a scam. I get all these fucking Deepak, Indian emails, and I'm like, fucking from India. It's like, obviously the Prince of Nairobi wants to fucking give me $1 million. Well, he says to me, I sent you $1 million on accident. Could you send it back to me and keep 10%?
Wait, what?
Right? So I look in my ledger, because I have my ledger on my phone and I have my account. So I look in it, and there's $1 million in my ledger. I did not have $1 million before in that fucking.
So he fat fingered like who he was supposed to send the money to.
Essentially, he fat fingered because he was sending it back to himself, but I didn't know this at the time. So this is where it gets interesting. I didn't know what the fuck's going on. I have $1 million in my account. I immediately
This is the most money you've ever seen in your entire life.
Ever.
By like 10x.
Fuck, dude, $1 million. I'm a millionaire. I look at my wife and I'm like, we can buy anything in this fucking furniture store right now. That's what I said to her. I'm like, we can buy everything. And she's like, that's not our money. I'm like, yeah, I know, but let's just pretend for a minute. It's like, we can buy anything. I was like, technically it is, because they said it to me and they cannot get it back.
Yeah.
It is technically mine. There is nothing they can do. They can file anything. They can file lawsuits. They'll never get it back. They fucked up.
Yeah. Because all anybody knows is he bought a Bored Ape for $1 million or whatever.
It's decentralized. You sent me the money. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's it. That's literally how it works in the world. Like, sorry, dude. You sent me $1 million. That's all there is to it. But I don't want to look over my shoulder the rest of my fucking life. And
because like your name's pretty public.
I want to be a good person.
There's still title records.
Yeah,
you're a small guy. Somebody could rough you up pretty
exactly.
bad.
And I'm not 20 years old anymore. Fucking running to Mexico. I got a family and life.
Right.
I'm a photographer. I want to continue my deal here. So I don't email the guy back immediately. I call my friend Keith, president of Time at the time, and I was like, "What the fuck do I do?" And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Someone sent you $1 million." He's like, "Explain." And I was like, "I don't know." He's just saying, fucking give him 10% back, or keep 10% and give him the rest back.
Like, are you scared he's like a drug dealer laundering
wash
money?
Trade.
Yeah, wash trade.
I think it's a wash trade. He's like washing his money through me, and I'm going to get the IRS fucking bill.
Yeah.
So I call Keith, and he's like, "Don't do anything." He's like, "Don't fucking respond to this guy. Don't do shit." He's like, "Call your lawyer." So at the time, I didn't have a fucking lawyer.
Right.
But Jamie's friend.
Most broke people don't need lawyers.
Fucking lawyers. And my friend Keith, who's like, if I had an accountant since he was 11 years old, fucking New York Jew, he's just like, "Call your fucking lawyer." It's like, fuck you, dude. I'm a fucking lawyer. So I call my friend Jamie's friend Tabitha, who's an attorney. And she goes, "Call me on Monday. Let's figure this out. Obviously, don't fucking communicate with this guy. This is crazy." She's like, "Obviously, it's some kind of scam, wash trade, whatever. We'll figure it out Monday." Well, my degen brain over the weekend goes, "I'm going to fucking hit this guy up, dude. This is Web 3. These Web 2 people have no idea what the fuck they're talking about." 2 a.m, Deepak. Found him on Twitter. "What up, bro? See, you sent me $1 million. Like, I have the text chain. It's so fucking funny. It's like, why did you send me $1 million? If you can explain yourself to me thoroughly, I will happily send this back to you. But you need a really good fucking explanation, because this is the stupidest shit I've ever seen." I said that. This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen, bro. "How did you do this?" And he goes, "I was trying to bid on your space ape for $1 million. I was pissed off that you didn't accept it. So I found you on Twitter, copied your fucking address, and meant to send it back to myself, the ETH, because he was retracting his bid. And he was like, I'm taking the $1 million. He's doing all this on his phone, millions of dollars. I look in his wallet. The guy had like 17,000 ETH, which at the time was like $80 million. So I'm like, obviously he fucking doesn't care about money.
Oh, because on the blockchain, you can see who owns what.
Who has money, where their wallets are. I can see everything. It's crazy. You can literally see how much money somebody has. So I was like, this guy has 17,000 ETH in his wallet. He's got money. He's not nobody. So I talked to him, and he's like, I accidentally fat-fingered. I accidentally sent it to you. I'm doing it all on my fucking phone. He's like, I'm freaking the fuck out, man. Can you send it back? And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm not going to keep the 10%. Like, I'm just going to send it back to you. Let's fucking call it a day. But seems like you want my space ape. He's like, yeah, I do. And I was like, I'm not taking $1 million. I was like, I want more. He's like, well, what do you want? And I was like, I don't know. I want like 500 ETH for this fucking thing. He's like, why don't we call it $1.42 million, 420 for the culture, right? 1.420. I was like, I kind of like that number. I was like, you pay all the fucking gas fees, you pay the open sea fees, and I make $1.42 million, and you got a deal. He's like, okay, I'll send the bid on the ape before you even send me the money back. So he bids on the ape $1.42 million. I accept it. I immediately get $1.4 million. I still have his million. I send it back to him. Sitting on 2.4, I just take a picture of it, screenshot it, send it to all my friends, say I'm rich, fuck all of you. Then I send it back to him. The next day I wake up to a fucking barrage of fucking people calling it a scam, saying I sent him the money back, all this shit. I have to go on Spaces, defend myself in front of 1,000 people. You know, this is not a scam. I mean, I've got ZaxBXT, like all these fucking...
Oh, because they think now you two are trying to paint the tape. Where he 100%. Paid 1.4 million.
The value of
trying
the
to yeah, dude, I'm so glad I explained what paint the tape is, because this would have been a perfect like NFT paint the tape. Yeah.
And so everyone's looking at it like the apes weren't worth that at the time. This was the biggest sale in the apes that wasn't a gold ape. This was the biggest sale in ape history at the time. So everyone's thinking we're lying, we're making it, we're trying to pump the apes. It's all in the fucking blockchain. You just have to investigate. But I have to go in the next day, defend myself. It's a whole fucking thing. Anyway, a month later, I had hit him up and said, and I don't know if I told you this, but the apes came with mutants. So if you bought an ape for $200, you got a mutant eventually. The mutant was worth, at the time, maybe $20,000, $30,000. So you got a free $30,000 airdrop to you for buying the ape. Then I bought a Serum 2, which was so I could get another mutant. So there was 3 forms of mutating your ape. You could make a mutant 1, 2, and 3. The 3, there was only 8 of them. The Serum 2s, there was only like 500 of them, and the Serum 1, there was like 1,000, let's say, okay? Or 10,000, whatever. You could mutate your ape into 1, 2, and 3. But 3 was like $1 million. You couldn't afford that, but I could afford 2 at the time. I had Solana. So I bought an $80,000 Serum 2 to mutate my ape so I could have a second tier ape, right? I know this is fucking ridiculous. I have 2 mutants now of the original space ape.
which already sold for 1.4 million.
And I still have these mutants that he did not want to buy at the time. He's like, I'm not ready to invest in
So
that.
theoretically, you've got $2.8 million of other apes, because like if the primary ape is worth that, the mutant apes might be worth more, right?
You want to collect them. So he waits a month. He's not responding. He doesn't want it. He's like, I'm not really ready to invest in those fucking things. And then I hit him up one more. I was like, Jamie, you want to see me make $1 million in about 30 seconds? She's like, bullshit. And I was like, watch this shit. Hit him up because I had an offer from somebody else trying to buy those things so they could fuck with this guy. They wanted the mutants. And they had offered 200 ETH or 225 or some shit. And I hit him up and I'm like, hey, dude, this is the offer. I have $1 million offer for both of these apes. Do you want it? Because I'm going to give it to this other guy. And he goes, no, I'll put the bid in right now. Buys both those apes on the spot and they make $1 million instantly. So that $200 investment not only got me the fucking ape, but got me the mutants as well that made me another $1 million on that.
So you made $200 into, or a couple hundred bucks.
Yeah, we did the math and it was like 690,000% or some shit.
And today, 2024, is it true that most NFTs are sitting at zero?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
fucking 5% of them went to zero.
Okay, so this is what I want to dig into, the NFTs. What is the value of the ape? Because here's how it's been explained to me, is that some of the NFTs are just somebody's art. Okay, cool, you're a collector of art, whatever. I think an Ansel Adams original print is worth $1 million. I'll pay $1 million for it because I'm a collector.
Totally.
That's one value. The other bucket, we'll call it, is just pure scam. Like people are just fucking minting these shits left and right, hoping to get a quick flash in the pan, pump and dump scam, and it's over.
Yeah, shout out to the Kevins for that.
Yeah, there you go. Or what's the fucking Paul brother that like keeps
fucking Logan Paul.
Logan Paul, fuck that guy.
Crypto Zoo, fuck that guy.
Yeah. So
but then see that guy and still
the third bucket, and I didn't understand this until somebody was explaining NFTs to Quentin Tarantino. And they said, Quentin, they're like, how many places have you seen the photo of Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta, Pulp Fiction with the gun like this? Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, if I had $1 for every T-shirt that's printed on,
right.
He's like, I wouldn't be fucking making movies, right?
Right.
And they said, okay, imagine an NFT of as having some functionality to it, where Quentin Tarantino picks that and 30 other famous scenes from his movie, and you splice out the original, 8mm frame from the movie. He mints that as an NFT. He sells those 20, and not only are you now like a lifetime collector of Quentin Tarantino originals, but once a year you get to go to a dinner party and a private movie viewing with Quentin Tarantino to watch one of his favorite movies, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what is that worth if you're the world's biggest Quentin Tarantino fan, and now you get to have dinner with the motherfucker every year for the rest of your life and have like a private movie viewing with him? So there's some utility to that NFT. Is that still a thing?
So 3 years ago, that was actually a thing. I think Quentin actually did that exact thing.
Oh, okay. Well, he must have taken that advice and did that.
He did. He just listened.
If I was a millionaire, I would have bought one of those because I love it. Like I would buy the scene where they're all sitting in the coffee shop, which is called, what's the coffee shop, Chris, on Eagle Rock Boulevard across from the taco stand? Cindy's. Thank you. So there's a scene where they're sitting in Cindy's. I've eaten at that diner 1,000,000 times. Reservoir Dogs, one of my favorite movies of all time. If I was a billionaire or a millionaire or not married with kids, I would have spent $100,000 on that NFT of them all sitting around the table having coffee before they go do the heist, and like had dinner with Quentin Tarantino every year for the rest of my life. Like that would have been easily worth $100,000 if I had
utilities there.
Yeah.
So someone did that with I don't know if for sure. I know that Quentin was involved with NFTs. He was on stage with Gary Vee. He was talking about, I think he did some type of NFT project. I believe it flopped. It did not work out well. Celebrities that entered in the space don't do very well. A guy named, I think Frank Mueller, the guy who's like the shark guy, goes, he was going to take you down in a fucking cage with the sharks. You had to buy the NFT. You'd go with like Leonardo DiCaprio and like you'd go on a boat with all these guys and go fucking.
Pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, right? I think it sold for like $5,000. The experience like sold for nothing. It was just, or maybe it didn't even sell at all. Like it was.
Damn.
Yeah. The thing is like, celebrities entering the space in the beginning was more of a community-driven space. So it was like celebrities entered, didn't get front of the line.
Right.
So nobody gave a shit because we didn't really have a value. Nobody even thought NFTs would be worth money in the future. So there was no value equated to it. But as we're growing into the space, you're seeing that type of utility start to expand and people start to understand what it means to buy an NFT and how the experience could be adapted into that utility. One of the first photographers to enter the space was named Kath Samard, and she offered the utility of you bought the print, and then she would take you on the trip to where she took the print.
Oh,
fucking badass,
that's
right?
badass.
Yeah, so 30 ETH, it was like $90,000. Someone bought that shit, and then you could take them out on the trip, take them to the fucking point where you shot it, and even reshoot an image for them, and that was kind of the idea. And so, like, I think experiences when it comes to NFTs are really the ultimate utility value, and that's, I think, what Time Magazine was really trying to explore when it came to that. It's just, you got, Mark Benioff and a lot of CEO and a lot of money being thrown around, and unfortunately, it just didn't turn out into what it was supposed to be.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the beauty about NFTs being on the blockchain. Do you need another beer, by the way? Okay.
Still nursing this one.
The beauty of the blockchain is let's say, for example, Nike sells 400 NFTs of like the famous Jordan picture dunking that ended up being the mascot for the shoe or whatever. And they say, hey, for the rest of the life of Nike, the company, you're going to be able to come to our shoe release party once a year in Oregon, right?
Yeah.
What just turned on?
It's pouring rain.
Oh, it's pouring rain. Cool.
I love it.
That means the podcast studio is about to start leaking immensely because we still have some links to this Chin Shack. So
let's do it.
If we get electrocuted now, sorry to your wife. This was your last recorded.
Cool. She's wealthy and set.
It would suck if this was like your last recorded podcast because you've been on some big boy podcasts. Anyway, I digress. So then the beauty of the NFT, because it's on the blockchain, if I bought that for $100,000 and then 5 years from now there's some shoehead that really wants to go to the party and I sell him my NFT for $300,000, Nike can get like a residual off of that, right? Like a royalty. They can bake it into the NFT.
Absolutely. So it's baked into the smart contract, and it depends on the platform that you're using, but Magic Eden has started to change that, and that's part of Yuga Labs and who started the Bored Apes. So they're starting, well, not starting, but they've invested, I believe, into this platform, Magic Eden, and the idea is, royalties will be forever. It's not. So OpenSea is one of the billion-dollar companies that kind of started NFT trading. They went from $1 billion valuation probably to fucking nothing because they didn't reward their fucking collectors. They didn't reward their users. And on top of that, they didn't honor royalties. They dragged us all into a fucking system and then basically rugged us by saying, we're not going to honor royalties anymore.
What's a rug?
A rug is the idea of like basically the person who starts something takes all the liquidity out.
Oh, like a rug pull. Like
literally a rug pull.
They pulled the rug from underneath you.
They fucking rugged us. That's why we created Rug Radio, man. It's fucking rugged. And so it's like all of us creators who onboarded into OpenSea and were sold this lie of 10% royalties in perpetuity. Lies.
None of it happened.
None of it happened. So that's when Richard from Manifold, who created the smart contract that had royalties baked into it, and it just kind of kept flowing. And that's why it's the wild, wild west, man. Overnight, we're sitting on New Year's Eve minting contracts that are going to be royalties baked into it so that we can save our fucking royalties on OpenSea. That's what we were doing on New Year's night in 2022 because that's how wild, wild west it was. It was like you have a couple days to figure this shit out or you will never get royalties again. That's how fucking... just all over the place. So you have to be on it at all fucking times to try and understand what the fuck you're doing.
Oh, girl.
It's a lot. And it's like the whole NFT space is a giant ecosystem. And originally, in my opinion, it was based a lot on FOMO.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that. And now you're starting to see price corrections and you're starting to see those blue chip NFTs. And that's what goes back to why is Bored Ape valuable? Culture.
So there's no utility. I don't get behind a velvet robe.
I guess you can go to a fucking Bored Ape fucking show once in a while with a bunch of dudes and hang out. But I mean, honestly, that's, like, I'm 40. I don't really have interest in going to parties. So for me, utility is just the culture of it. It was cool just collecting this cultural icon. But I sold it. And then I bought a CryptoPunk with that money.
What's a CryptoPunk?
So I have a CryptoPunk, which was like the original. So there was CryptoKitties and CryptoPunks, which was basically like the original contracts on the Ethereum blockchain for NFTs. So CryptoPunks was like...
These are like antique NFTs.
Literally, the 2017, one of the first. And I don't really fully understand CryptoPunk history, but what I believe happened is that when you minted these things, they did not mint out, and you had to look on a giant page to pick out which punk you wanted and then enter the number of the contract to be able to mint these things. It was a whole pain in the ass back in the 2017 to buy these. And then when I got into crypto, they were worth about 5 to 10 ETH.
Which is like 15 grand?
Yeah, like 15, 20 grand, whatever. ETH was at like 1,500 at the time. And it was like everybody wanted a CryptoPunk. That was the idea. You flip your ape into a CryptoPunk. Like everybody, the punk is the fucking blue chip. And so that didn't crash. I mean, that's still, they're worth about 250,000, I think, right now.
So your current picture on your Twitter profile, your Instagram profile, that's a CryptoPunk, right?
Yeah.
You own that piece of art?
I do.
And what is that worth?
I think with the rarity of it, probably 350,000, 400,000.
For a fucking pixelated picture of a dude with purple hair.
Yep. Fucking means you're an OG though, man. That's the status. That's your OG status, is having a CryptoPunk on your profile. See, that's the thing. It's like, we look at social media, right? We look at Instagram and we go, oh, these are all these fake lives of these fucking people. We look at every picture and they're living their bullshit. Nothing's real on Instagram. Well, I think what the future is going to be is people look in wallets and they go, this guy's a punk. This guy minted super Yetis. This guy was in apes. This is fascinating. I go in people's wallets to learn about them. I don't go to their social media. It's all lies. I'm going to go to their wallets and really find out who they are. Oh, this is what you minted. Okay, I know what kind of person you are. You're fucking cool. You bought crypto dick butts? Let's fucking go.
Do you think there's a future where you mint experiences where it's like, right now there's 3 studios that I know of in LA where you can rent a soundstage, which is a fake private plane. So if you're one of these
Instagram video,
if you're one of these douchebag influencers who want to be like, go into Tahiti in my private plane,
or I'm going to fight the stewardess.
Yeah. It's all fugazis. And then what they do is they go there for $500 an hour. They film their private jet experience. Then they take Southwest to Cabo, where nobody knows that those beaches look different than Tahiti, even though they're wildly different.
I'm in Fiji,
and then they're like, Fiji, yeah. It's like, bro, you're at fucking, you're at Cabo Wabo, and I love Cabo
green
Wabo.
Screen with a Corvette in the back.
Yeah, exactly. Like Cabo Wabo is my happy place, and there may be a strip club right across the street for those listening. But I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, I saw on TV.
We would never go.
I would never go, of course. But it's like, do you think you will be able to mint experiences where it's like, yeah, you were actually in Mykonos on this private boat, and somehow the tour provider mints the experience?
Yeah, I think experiences, like VCon was kind of like that. I mean, you minted the ticket, and then if you held the ticket was art, and it's worth money.
Explains VCon.
So VCon is like, a convention for all the crypto bros to get together, talk about the future of blockchain technology. It's run by Gary Vee. Everybody talk. There's all these conventions that people don't know about. Like there's NFT NYC, there's NFC Lisbon, there's Art Basel. Everything is crypto related. There's blockchain events. There's Consensus in Austin, which is fucking an incredible blockchain event. There's Blockchain Lisbon. It just goes on and on. NFT Paris. Every fucking week there's another event. It's crazy. But
are you like a superstar at these events?
I wouldn't call myself. No, fuck no. I mean,
if we're walking at like a crypto event, are we going to get bored? Or are we going to get like bombarded on the way to get iced tea by people asking you questions?
We might get a couple people asking, what's photography on NFTs and shit like that. It might be a couple things, but I'm nobody, man. I'm me. I'm a photographer. That's it. But when you go to these events, right, and they're just crazy. Everybody's trying to pitch their ideas. Everyone's trying to, get into the next thing. Everyone's trying to make money. Everyone's trying to change their lives. Everyone's trying to network. So it's a whole fucking thing with these NFT events. But when you look at something like Consensus, which is just strictly blockchain, there's no NFT people. It's all just blockchain shit. It's like all of these things that we're doing, all these events are trying to onboard the masses, trying to build things within the ecosystem that will onboard more people so that we can get people into this whole idea that this is going to create the next finance generation. This is going to hopefully democratize the way we sell art. Like, for example, when I got into photography, I drove to gallery with my art and everybody turned me down. Everybody said photography doesn't sell for thousands of dollars. You might make $500. We keep 50%. That was basically what I drove to fucking all the nice galleries up in the north, California, Northern California, all the good shit. Everybody turned me down. That's when I had the idea of opening my own gallery and not having to deal with anybody else. I suffered. I lived out of my car. I slept in casino parking lots and would get chased out of fucking circus. I did everything I could to grind. I am probably the first and only photographer in history to own his own gallery and have to sell his camera to keep it going and live out of his car. I owned a fucking gallery on the Strip and was sleeping in a car with no camera. That was my fortitude on how I wanted to create my legacy, because I was not just going to accept no for an answer. I don't want my fucking kid to go through that. If my kid wants to be an artist, the whole romanticism of starving artists is bullshit. We shouldn't have to starve to create, and we shouldn't have to die to be able to sell our art. We should be able to live off of our art and create sustainable income. And that's what I believe the future chain of blockchain provides for kids like my daughter, who if she wants to be an artist, she won't have to sell her soul for fucking exposure and work for celebrities for free because they'll tell her that her portfolio will grow and one day she'll get a good gig. Because that's what I was sold. It's fucking lies and exposure.
I've got a buddy who's he's an artist with a blowtorch. He does these wild motorcycles. And Chris, maybe you can interject here a couple pictures from Marco's Instagram. I mean, he makes all this post-apocalyptic shit. It looks like it's out of Mad Max. It's awesome. But like,
is he down in Venice Beach?
No,
okay.
But he does sell it in Venice Beach. He's down in Silmar. I've seen a lot of that shit in
Venice.
And it's like, I mean, every single piece of this motorcycle, except for maybe some of the original frame and the actual motor, which he doesn't build motors by hand, every single piece is hand welded, like filed. It's wild. And he has sold a couple of them for a lot of money. And who's the guy that was the main actor in Easy Rider? He does a motorcycle show. My buddy Marco's won like the best in show prize.
Chuck Zito.
Fonda.
Peter Fonda.
Peter Fonda, yeah. He has a motorcycle show. My buddy's won like best in show at that. He got a call from a Marvel celebrity who's one of the Marvel superheroes, who's like, hey man, so-and-so wants a bike. He's like, cool, like custom. Does he want to buy one of the ones I already have? He's like, no, you're going to make it for him for free because he'll put it up on his Instagram. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, how about you eat a dick?
How about you go fuck yourself?
Yeah, these things are like 10,000 man hours to make one of these. I got some in my garage I've been working on for 3 years. What are you talking about? He wants one for free. It's like, well, he's so-and-so and he'll put it on his Instagram and you'll get a big showing. And he's like, yeah, fuck off, bro. Yeah. But that's how people treat artists.
That is celebrity mentality for you too. How many celebrities have told me I don't pay for fucking photos? Like people will do it for free. Mm-hmm. You know, it was Vince Neil who was the first fucking person who actually validated me and bought my art instead of saying, I'll post your shit.
Vince Neil, Motley Crue?
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
First guy who actually was like celebrity-wise was like, no, I'm also going to post about it, but I'm going to pay for it.
Good guy.
I was like, fuck yeah, man. Like that's the kind of collector that I want, is somebody who actually supports my passion, because I can't create by giving you shit for free.
Right. You mean it costs to live?
Right, exactly. And like it was so funny because like family, friends would just expect, you'd create a book and they'd be like, can I get the book for free? I pay $100 per book. No, you can't have this shit for free. If anybody should be buying my shit, it should be my friends and family.
Right.
You guys should be supporting this shit like I'd support you. So I think like when I first got into crypto, I'm going to give a little story of this girl named Nyla. She was creating something called long neckies, little pieces of like people of art, they had long necks, and I saw it in a clubhouse room, and I bought it because she's 12 years old and she's making art. I bought it for a couple $100. She was making it on her cracked ass iPhone. Like it had fucking crack in it and everything. They were broken. They were living in Jersey. They had nothing to their name, not a fucking penny. They were driving a Volvo with 200,000 miles. She made $12 million on the blockchain by releasing her art and us just helping her, just talking about it, telling everybody about it, promoting it, because we cared. I never took a penny from this girl. Never took anything. We wanted to see her win. She's a young 12-year-old black girl, and she wanted to make her parents thrive. She wanted to pay off mortgages. Whatever she wanted to do, we wanted to make it happen. Found her art, bought 3 pieces, and at the time, I'm not an influencer, but at the time when I bought the art, people followed my moves, and so they would buy. People would see I bought it on the blockchain, they'd be like, oh shit. If I bought some art, everybody else would kind of get in. This was before like big names came in, like Cosmo and all these guys who would just come with millions of dollars and fucking buy shit, and people would buy it. But back then, when you could spend a couple $1,000s, people would follow your moves. I bought her art, and next thing you know, everyone's buying her art. And so she decides to create the 10,000 piece or 8,000 piece long neckies, 8,000 of them. Couldn't sell them out, so we did clubhouse rooms. I came in with Keith Grossman, president of Time, raided his room. He was talking about Time magazine, and we fucking raided his room with all these long necky profile pictures. He's like, what is John Knopf doing in this room with his picture? And I go, I want you to introduce you to this 12-year-old girl who's created this art, and she's trying to sell it. And we talk about it, 400 people, 500 people in this room. By the end of the room, her art was completely sold out, and she had made $12 million on the blockchain. Her family's life was completely changed. They moved out of Jersey, and they're living fucking great. She was at VCon. She talks at all the events now, everything.
That's awesome, man.
And she's like 13 now, but fucking killed it.
That's amazing, dude.
Incredible. And that's the thing about the blockchain. There's no gentrification. There's no race. It's nothing. This is a 12-year-old black girl, and she killed it. And then Drift came in. He was a military guy, a Marine, black, got arrested for creating art. He was trespassing, and because they was black in the Marines, they made an example of him and put him in prison for a couple years. Had to fight his way out with attorneys and all this shit. Came onto the blockchain.
For what, doing like graffiti or something? They put him in jail?
Go on top of towers and take fucking pictures, man. Not even fucking vandalizing. Like, I get it, you're trespassing, but like, bro.
Come on.
Like, leave him alone. They stopped him, and I think it was like Texas, and fucking surrounded his car like SWAT team style, helicopters, everything. They treated him like his fucking, the
Pablo
Gestapo,
Escobar or something,
literally like Escobar. And he's like, I'm a fucking Marine, and he's a nice, humble dude, man. Super nice, quiet, just fucking one of the nicest people. Anyway, all this shit goes down. Releases his art on the blockchain. I'm guessing he made $50 million.
Oh, good for him.
I'm guessing. He fucking killed it, bro. Killed it. Did an open edition and sold like $20 million of that. Created a collection, grossed insane amounts of money through royalties. Household fucking name through this. Drift.
Amazing, man.
That's the future. It democratizes art. In the real world, that guy got out of prison and went to a gallery.
They'd laugh at him.
And he knows that. And we all know that. He has fucking covered in tattoos. They would have just laughed at him. They would have been like, nah, bro. Like, you just got out of prison. You're black. We're fucking galleries. We're gatekeeping. It just would have never happened for this fucking dude. It would have taken a miracle.
Right.
Came into blockchain and we loved his story. Collectors loved his story.
And the cool thing is, every time that resells, if it's on a smart contract, he'll get a residual.
He gets royalties.
Banksy, he sells his art, it's done. He's never seen another penny for that.
Ever. And he sold all of his art originally for 0.25 ETH a piece. So we're talking like maybe 4 ETH is what he made, $20,000 originally, but royalties. And then people kept exchanging it. Then the floor went to 150 ETH. And you're talking about every time someone flips now another 100 ETH, he gets 10 ETH. $40,000. Everything just continuously perpetual. So I think his collection grossed, I'm going to say like a couple thousand ETH. And he made 10% of that. Top of his open edition, on top of his crazy fucking trading, which he traded. We all traded, and all of these things. This was the democratization, in my opinion, of how we exchanged art. This has never happened in history, ever in history, where artists had enough money to buy each other's art, to help each other. This is the podcast vibe that we all got from Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan put everybody else on the map by putting them on his podcast, by helping. Instead of competing, he promoted.
Yeah.
We all took that model and took it to the moon, and we started promoting each other. We started helping each other because we were all early adapters. So how do we do that? We promote each other. We built the ecosystem. We want to help these people, Drift, Nyla, all these early adopters that want to change the world. That was the idea. It was literally, we would sit in these fucking rooms, talk for hours about how we're going to change the world with blockchain technology. And then it kind of just went to Wall Street bets and fucking craziness. But that was the original idea, man.
I want to come all the way around because now there is like a gambling aspect to it, like with the Joe Biden coin, right? Like you mentioned, like Biden.
Shout out.
You mentioned that
Buy
you buy it. You mentioned that like culture shapes this stuff. Like, what's the culture around the Joe Biden coin?
He's the most memeable fucking person on the planet.
I know.
I had friends texting him I'm like, obviously not financial advice, but I did buy this stupid ultra degen shit. And they're like, yeah, it's pumping because of Donald Trump token. I'm going to buy Trump token. I'm like, good luck. He's not as memeable. He's not as funny, man. He's funny.
But what do you get for the Joe Biden coin? Like, is there any utility? Is there any exchange?
It's a shit coin. There is literally I think that's
there's nothing.
So when you look at the past cycle, right? Everybody bet on things that were going to make them give them utility, give them technology, right? Like FTX and Solana and all these different like blockchains, right? We believed in them, and even NFT projects from Oni to CryptoZoo, all these rugs. We believed in their roadmap, which was like, we're going to do all this. We're going to create a metaverse. 99% of these projects let us down, from fucking Luna crashing to FTX being insolvent. It's just continuously. So now you look at it and you go, do I really trust any of these fuckers? Or do I just want to make money and have fun in these meme coins? Because that's where the narrative has shifted. Nobody wants to, at the moment, nobody wants to buy what they don't believe anymore. Because they're like, you guys have all let us down, but you know what we can do? We can fucking 1000x this Joe fucking Biden thing to the moon.
But eventually, doesn't somebody buy it for 1000x and then lose?
Dude, someone's going to buy your bags. I mean, Deepak bought my bags on the ape, and now the ape is worth nothing.
And do you think he's like mad at you?
I hope not, man. He's fucking worth millions. If he's mad at me, it's his fault. He bought it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, but we talk about like
I didn't offload my bags to a broke dude.
Right. There's the rug pull where it's like it was fraud from the beginning. But then there's also like, do you ever feel bad for the guy who's going to buy you bought the Bowden coin, Joe Bowden, at a penny. Some dude's going to buy it at $1,000 and the next day it's going to be worth 700. Is it just like, hey man, that's the libertarian way, buyer beware? And like the culture or the community could support a $500 coin, but not $1,000 coin? Or like, where's the...
I don't know.
I hate to say morality, but like, where's the morality, I guess?
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of like the same with stocks or anything else. Did you have faith in it? Did you do your own diligence? Did you do your diligence? Did you research? Then you believe in it and you bought my bags. When I was telling everybody about Joe Biden, it was at a $2 million market cap. It had been
for the entire coin ecosystem.
Yeah, like it was $2 million market cap. People, $2 million had been put into this market for the Joe Biden coin. And I started telling my friends, I'm like, this is actually making... I didn't want to tell them at 100K market cap because I'm like, I don't want to tell my friends a shit coin and watch them lose money. But then I'm like, it's 2 million. I'm like, okay, I have a little faith. I'm just going to tell them, hey, I bought this. Don't buy it. But if you want to, this is what it is, And so a lot of people did get in a $2 million market cap. Was I selling them my bags? I wasn't selling it at the time, but was I selling my bags? Technically. I mean, the idea is you're telling them about something. Obviously, I hope they make a fucking lot of money. And they all did, because it went to fucking $30 million market, $40 million. So anybody who did buy it at $2 million, it's like, dude, you guys 20x'd on that. I mean, Richie, you 20x'd on that shit. And it's like, I don't want anybody to buy my bags, but I also want people to make money. And if the only way for it to be bought is for me to sell. That is kind of how the move, like, if I hadn't sold my ape, I sold one ape at 30 ETH, and then they went to 100.
Yeah.
It's like, if I hadn't sold that, maybe it never would have went to 100. I have to give somebody an opportunity to buy at a cheaper price.
Well, it's like, I'm trying to square this in my mind, right? Because let's say Disney stock is worth $113 today or whatever the fuck it's worth. Mm-hmm. Somebody will eventually be willing to buy it for 115, and then somebody will buy it for 150, and then 200. And eventually... Disney's going to bankrupt themselves, or they're just going to fall in hard times because they lose the ESPN contract and they keep making these weird woke movies that nobody wants to see, and they fucked up the Star Wars franchise, and they're in the process of fucking up the Marvel's franchise.
So it's like creator.
Yeah, at some point I sell the stock for $200, and maybe intrinsically the company 3 months later is only worth $100 a share. Mm-hmm. I don't feel bad about that, but I also know there's an underlying company called Disney that does own the rights to Star Wars and Marvel and all these, these intellectual property. So there's some like intrinsic value.
Right.
But like in the Joe Bowden coin, there is no utility, right?
But am I like, here's where I think I find the morality. Am I on YouTube right now going, hey guys, Joe Bowden's at a fucking $30 million market cap. I'm reading the charts right now. My TA says that Fibonacci is going to get us to a $90 million market cap. Buy.
Right.
Now I'm not doing that. So I don't really feel bad because I'm not telling like everybody. I'm saying, I bought this stupid shit at 100K market cap. I am now 400X. If you want to get in, by all means. But the people who are buying the token on the DEX, I don't know these people.
Right.
I don't know who they are. I'm not selling like my bag to poor Joe Schmo because I don't know who he is.
Right.
But if he's dumb enough to fucking buy a token that says Joe Bowden at a $40 million market cap, he deserves to lose his money if he's going to lose his fucking money. That's just all there is to it. Yeah. You should be buying things that are fucking cheap. If you're crazy enough to get into something that has gone 400x, bro.
I mean, I guess it's kind of like sports betting, right? Like, I don't think the casino is evil for facilitating the bet where, like, by design, 50% of people are going to lose their money. Mm-hmm. Like, their whole goal is like, we're going to get 50% to bet on UCLA and 50% to bet on UCLA. We're going to take the little 5 or 10% vig in the middle, and half these people are going to lose. And buyer beware.
Built on hotel room rates.
right. Although these days, Jesus Christ.
I know, no shit with resort rates, right?
Yeah. Dude, I feel like we could talk forever. I don't want to keep you much longer, but I do want to end with 3 questions.
Yeah.
One is... I know, me too, dude. Awesome. I could like I've got 8 questions here that could take us on another 2-hour rant.
Bro, I'm chilling.
If you were going to talk to people about like my 22-year-old son, right?
Yeah.
He's a good kid. He's smart. He understands a little bit of Web 3.0. But he's also gotten burned a couple times. I'm like, I bought Shibu Inu, and like Elon Musk is going to be on SNL tomorrow night. It's going to go to the moon. I'm going to buy a new car.
I'm like, sold before the news, man.
I'm like, is it really? Is it really right? So it's like, if people wanted to get an education on understanding, like, where are the stable things? Where are the pure gambles? Why might I want to belong to a community of these NFT creators who, like, I feel that there's some community or cultural value. Like, where would people get education on this stuff without falling prey to the Logan Pauls of the world who are just pumping and dumping in rug pull. Like Logan Paul, from what I understand from watching like CoffeeZilla and the little bit I know about him, like he is pure pumped and dumped a bunch of fucking shit. But because he hasn't ripped off any rich people yet, there's no accountability. Like you can rip off poor people all day long and you're not going to get investigated.
Yeah, I think there's no class action against him right now. So
Nothing.
He can just pretty much get away with what he wants.
So it's like, who do you follow or who do you look to for education? You know, Clubhouse kind of had its flash in the pan during the pandemic, and now nobody's on there. I hope those guys sold, man, or went public or did something. But where would you look for education?
So when we were on Clubhouse and we converted over to Twitter Spaces is where kind of all the crypto bros went to. We started Rug Radio, and that's where, you know, when Clubhouse was going, we held those giant crypto rooms, you know, with like 1,000 people, and we'd be all talking about crypto, and then we'd go, you know, raid Gary V's room with a bunch of apes, and that's how Gary V found out about apes, is we'd literally go raid, and we got banned from a bunch of rooms from raiding them back in the day. That's how the market was created, just literally raiding rooms. So when I look at like who to follow and shit like that, I go to Twitter Spaces. I go to where the fucking talk is. Where is it happening? Where's the water cooler of crypto? Where's everybody chatting? Where's everybody talking? Because as much as I want to form my own opinion, us supporting each other is the best thing. It was like that whole WAGMI vibe. We're all going to make it. You know, it was like we all continued to support each other. It's like when shit crashed, we were all there for each other. Like, guys, stick around. The smartest people in the world are still fucking buying this shit. It's still fucking moving. It's like we all continuously stuck by each other. So you find your support group. You find your people. I found my people, Keith, Mel, Cal, all these people that I've met throughout the ecosystem. This is my network. And we all tell each other shit because we all know what's going on. It's not like insider trading. It's a matter of we know the ecosystem. We know what we trust. We know teams that we trust. We've met people. Can you vouch? Because in my opinion right now, it's such a closed niche like ecosystem that it's all word of mouth on who you trust.
So you're kind of betting on the race, the jockey, not the horse.
Yeah. Essentially, I'm betting on the artist, not the art.
Yeah.
You know, so when I look at blockchain, I could read the white paper, and I technically, you know, I try to sit down and understand everything but I'm not that intelligent, to be honest. Like, I really don't fully understand what I'm doing, but I listen. I listen to what people are telling me. I pay attention, and I understand enough that I can invest properly and educated. It's not, in my opinion, gambling, because I'm educated enough to know what I'm doing. For example, like Polygon, when I told you about that, I looked into brand ownership. It's my opinion, like one of my biggest plays, and it's so undervalued because I've looked at all these things and I understand there's no mimetic value. There's no real memes for it. There's no real influencers pushing this type of thing. So I look at things that influencers aren't necessarily involved in. Like when I bought into Solana, it was under $1.
What is it now?
$150, but it went to $300 during the bull run. And that's when I had...
Oh, it's worth $150, not $1.50.
No, $150.
You bought it for $1?
Less than originally. Same with Axie, same with Luna. All these tokens I had gotten in early because I listened. I paid attention. I had gotten into stocks, and then I formed groups. I found Telegram groups, and I formed trading groups. I would literally bring them in, and I would put links up on stock twits and be like, guys, join my group. And we'd all start talking and communicating. And that's how I found crypto. Literally, a dude on my fucking stock trading said, I'm going to transition over into crypto. He's like, I really think that it's going to be the next move. And that was in 2020 when ETH was at $300. He's like, I'm going to start. And he sent me a link on how to set up my MetaMask. And I was like, okay. I was like, this seems like a scam, but I'll put a little bit of money into it to just see what it's about. So I researched, I did my homework, but I listened. I followed the trend and I listened. I don't listen to people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I don't listen to my friends who are going, oh, fucking crypto's going to crash. I listen to people who are educated and have been in this.
Hey, you know what I'm hearing, bro? You know
exactly. You know what I'm fucking hearing is that, like, you know, crypto's, it's like I constantly hear the same thing over. Good luck, you know, hope fucking crypto works out for you. And I'm like, $2.5 billion market cap, man. Hope it works out too. Fuck.
Trillion,
thank you.
Yeah. $1 trillion
market cap. Really hope it works out for me too.
Yeah. It's going to be rough.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough road here.
All right. So Twitter Spaces or people, what is your Twitter handle?
John Knopf Photos.
John Knopf Photos. So people would just go to you and follow all the people who you follow and get a pretty good education.
Dude, see who I'm retweeting, see who I'm responding to. Like, that's who I trust. I'm not going to say that, like, I know what the fuck I'm doing, but these are the people that I trust that I follow. I mean, I follow a lot of crypto influencers. I follow a lot of, you know, guys who are talking it, but I personally like put myself in like a situation where I'm not going to listen to anybody else that I don't fully believe in or is fully educated in this system. I'm not going to listen to a fucking influencer. I'm going to listen to the people who are building behind the scenes. Like,
wait, bro, like Logan Paul and his eggs?
Right,
Oh, come on, man, buy an egg.
If Logan Paul is pitching it, it's too late.
Short it.
Gary Vee is pitching it, it's probably too late. You have to get in on the ground floor when people are in the water cooler. I mean, that's how I got into Joe Biden. I'm in a disc or a Telegram for photographers. And one of my photography friends was like, I bought this stupid degen shit. And he's really good at buying stupid shit. He's always right. Fucking dude is always right. He's always nailing it. So it's like, I'll trust this fucker. He always nails it.
Who cares? It was a couple $100 bucks. And it's like, yeah, you're not...
I'm not going to die.
It's not going to change your life.
It's not going to ruin me. So I was like, dude, I'll do this for fun. And it's like, you have to really dive in deep, and it's organic and it's raw. So you have to get on. I tell everybody who's trying to dive into crypto, get on Twitter, follow me, follow crypto people, start really understanding what crypto is and why you want to invest in it. Don't just invest because your fucking friend told you. Because when you lose your money, you're going to hate your friend and yourself.
I will not hate you as my friend if I just hand everything over to you and you do it, because I'm just like, what the fuck do I know?
Bro, do you know how many people just hit, like, please just make, I'm like, no.
Just mirror your trades. Like,
Educate.
That's interesting. Could I look at your wallet and just mirror your trades?
100%. NFTs, my wallet for shit coins, everything. You can literally just watch my Etherscan and see what I'm trading. That's what people did for a long time. They would copy trade like me and Farouk. They'd see what we were buying. They're like, fucking toes to the moon. You know, it's just like, that's the kind of shit that would happen. It was like, it was creating a market. We didn't do this. Like, we were not like, I wasn't like, I'm going to be an influencer and I'm going to create a market. Yeah. I saw a market for photography.
You're not good enough looking to be an influencer.
Dude. I'm a terrible, and I'm not smart enough. You know, like, I just wanted to sell photography, man. That is literally my goal from day one. I just want to sell my fucking photos. And so everything just kind of went to this.
We got to touch on this, because aren't you going to be going to like Lisbon and a bunch of other places to shoot pretty soon?
Yeah, I'll be in Holland shooting the tulips, but I'm speaking at NFC Lisbon. They were partnered with them. I get to go on stage, talk about
you're shooting the tulips?
Yeah, tulips in Holland.
Like flowers?
Yeah, fucking flowers.
Hot.
Yeah, it's really hot.
It's for National Geographics?
That's for me.
Oh, okay.
I sell this shit.
All right.
It's all for sale.
Sweet.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've done my whole life. Create my own capital and then travel on it. I've never taken money from magazines. I've never taken money from anybody. When I worked with National Geographic, it was based on my terms. I minted the art. They sold it. I made the money. Wasn't working with their magazine. Wasn't doing editorial. Wasn't going to pay for that. I would never let them pay for my travels. I don't want anyone to own me. Everything is mine.
I love that.
That's, I mean, honestly, self-sovereignty, right?
Yeah.
Nobody should own your fucking art.
So we're going to move this up and drop this as like a bonus episode. I don't even know if it'll have a number next to it, because we just want to get it out there soon since things change. Who knows? Maybe by the time that this drops in a couple days, the Joe Biden coin will be worth $0. Maybe it'll be worth $1,000.
Maybe it'll be $1 billion market cap, dude.
Yeah, and you'll be taking us to Malibu.
Called the next Shiba.
There you go. Going into, we're filming this in March of 2024, which is when we'll get the episode out. But what are you personally looking most forward to going into the rest of the year, either personally, professionally, in the meme coins and the shit coins and the degen world? Like, what are you looking forward to? Like, what still lights you up? And then favorite movie and why?
Okay, so what motivates me right now is, obviously, I came into this to help photographers. And I found that my experience in photography, not a lot of people have sold prints, and most people haven't owned a gallery. Most people have survived off of editorials, working headshots, whatever. I'm one of the few that are selling prints. So I thought I could offer my wisdom, my expertise, whatever the fuck you want to call it, my experience in business of selling my prints. And so what I want to see for the future of NFTs is for photographers to be able to sell their art and sustainable income. So that's my goal. So what I'm looking forward to this year, I've created Photo World, which is a democratized idea to curate art within the Web3 ecosystem. And it's created by other curators. So it's basically artists curating other artists. So there's no bias inherent. I need to pump my bags because I bought this art kind of thing. You're not a collector. We are artists basically saying, we validate this person because they're a great artist. There are 6 people on board. They have to unanimously agree on something.
So you have 6 artists, yourself being one of them,
yep,
where like you're kind of upvoting art. And if all 6 of you agree, like, oh, this guy's good, his art is good, then you're going to put him on
You're on the platform. Not the blockchain, but the platform. Like, you're already in the blockchain. We're going to put you on a platform and vouch for you. So it's like, if I meet a collector who's like, I want to get into photography NFTs, go to our website. These are all the photographers that we vouch for. And it's like, when you look at the actual curators, these are people I would have dreamed of working with 10 years. I would have done anything to work with these people, and we're all working for free. If you had told me in 2024 that I'd have Mike Yamashita, the original fucking National Geographic photographer, curating Photo World for free, I would have told you to go fuck yourself.
Right.
He was my idol. And he's working with us for free, curating art. Got Lindsay Burns, who is the Paramore photographer, Rolling Stones. These are household names curating this art. So it's like you're getting to connect with fucking legends, people that this whole industry was built on. And I think like that's the future of democratizing art, is like being able to learn from the fucking legends. Nat Geo has been so gatekept that you have no idea how they'd accept your art or ever talk to an artist and Nat Geo photography. It just doesn't happen. Well, in Web3, you can sit on spaces with Mike Yamashita and learn everything about him. That's the coolest shit ever. So what I see, what I'm looking forward to, is the connections that we make to create the actual market for photography, so it is one of the most dominant art forms on the fucking planet. Because that's what I believe photography deserves. It is one of the most creative art forms that is not widely accepted because you push a button to make it. That's like saying, because I use a fucking paintbrush, the paintbrush does all the work. It's not fair to photographers, and I believe we created an art form that has been undervalued and undermonetized for many, many years, and we have been taken advantage of. And so I believe that the blockchain will change all that.
It's a good way to end the podcast, other than the fact that I need to know what your favorite movie is and why.
Amores Perros.
I don't even know what the fuck that is.
For the Love of Dogs. It's a movie in subtitles. Most people don't know what this fucking movie is. But
this is the most esoteric shit I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's about dogfighting.
What? Your favorite movie is a Spanish movie, I'm guessing, with subtitles, unless, of course, you speak Spanish. You do not speak Spanish. Tell me more about Amores.
Amores Perros is kind of like almost like a Guy Ritchie, Pulp Fiction, Tarantino. It's like a mix of, you go into different aspects of lives and how they all connect in the end of one, but it's all based on the love for dogs, which is like, what the fuck? This doesn't make any sense. But when you actually dive into it, it's dog fighting. Dogs fucking die in this movie. It's fucking violent. You have to turn it off halfway through because you have to just take a moment and be like, I might need to take a shower right now because I feel filthy fucking watching this shit. It is a fucked up movie. Just continuous fucking just like, oh my God, what the fuck is happening? I like movies where they end and I go, what the fuck did I just watch right now? I gotta sit here and think for the next 10 hours about what I watched, Google it, fucking learn what was that ending. I love movies that end and they make no sense.
Really?
That's the fucking best movie because you have to figure it out.
So does this movie, like, is it one of those things where, like, they never take the foot off the gas or give you that comic relief?
There's no comic relief, so I've only watched it twice. This is my favorite movie, only because I can only stomach it twice.
Okay.
This is a fucked up movie. But it's something that just... So there's a part in the movie where this homeless guy... He's a killer. He's a mercenary. He's fucking killing people, but he's also homeless and he enjoys it. But he has dogs with him. He always has all these fucking dogs with him, and people always fuck with him. And he fucking breaks out his machete. He's like, "Don't fuck with me," He's got his fucking dogs with him, and there's a dog named Coffee who has been raised to be a dog fighter, and he's the sweetest dog. But these fucking dog fighters got a hold of him and just turned a cute pet, a household pet, into a dog fighter. They found him. Turn him into a dog fighter. Well, this homeless guy finds the dog at some point. He's dying or some shit, not doing so well. They had been in a dog fight, and he wants to take him home because he wants to take care of this fucking dog. This is his, he takes care of dogs. He's homeless. These are his companions. So this is his love. You can tell this is his passion. He fucking loves it. He doesn't understand people. He kills them, but he understands dogs. He can relate to them.
I know somebody like this.
Right? So he takes it home. The dog is a fighter. The man goes to do his job and goes kill somebody. When he gets home, the dog has killed all of his dogs. They're all dead. And it's fucked up because these are his companions. You're like watching these little dogs and they're all fucking laying there just and fucking blood everywhere. And you're just like, what the fuck? But he takes the dog and continues on with his life because he understands the rage. He can literally relate to this fucking vicious thing that has killed his family, but he still loves it because he sees himself inside that fucking dog.
I'm gonna go watch this movie tonight.
It fucked my head up so much, man, because I'm just like, you feel dirty because you're like, I don't know who to love. I don't know, do I care about this dog? Do I care about this guy who's a killer? I do.
Yeah.
You almost relate to them in a sense, and you love them for it. And you're like, but this is a killer. This is a dog who fucking killed his family. But the story of it and everything goes in the end and just connects.
There's a few morally ambiguous movies like that where like they never take the foot off the gas. There's never like a comic relief. I'm thinking about Black Swan.
Mm-hmm.
Like that movie just kind of turns your stomach, but I think it's a great movie. I'm thinking of Seven.
7.
8mm. Have you ever seen this movie?
8mm is fucked up, bro.
That is the most fucked up movie.
Yeah.
In that last scene when Nicolas Cage is on the ground.
Porn. It was
snuff porn.
Fuck.
And the dude's standing over him and he takes off the mask and he's like, people think my mommy beat me or whatever. And he's like going through this diatribe and he's like, I wasn't abused, but I just like it. You're like, oh, I feel dirty watching this movie.
But you feel
for him, but you're like, I also feel dirty watching this movie, right?
It's like that movie Small Children where the pedophile, this dude, he's a fucking pedophile, but the cop kills him or the cop fucks him up and the mom's crying at the end and the cop feels bad and you're like, I feel bad for the pedophile. Holy shit, this movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to feel bad about that.
The movie fucked your head up so much that you feel bad for the mom and now you feel bad for the kid that died because he was so fucked up in the head that all he needed to do was be locked up and get some fucking help. But the dad was so angry and so pissed off that he killed someone that should have been studied and understood. He should have been studied so we could break down who the fuck he was so we could stop it. Every time we fucking kill someone and don't understand why they are the way they are, we can't stop it. You're just fucking killing the symptom. You're not fucking solving the root of the problem. Cure the fucking cancer, dude.
I don't know because I've seen this meme many times because like I'm pretty far right with my libertarian views, so I get looped in with a lot of like conservative crazies. And there's this great move where he goes around and says it's like, you might be a conservative if you watch Dead Man Walking and was still happy Sean Penn got executed at the end. I was like, yeah, I kind of am. I had no sympathy for him. I was like, dude, you killed these two teenagers. Like, you should die.
Fucking asshole.
Susan Sarandon can pray with you all you want. Like, I don't really give a shit. I got to the end of the movie and I didn't have like tears for the victim or for the perpetrator. I was like, you should die. And it's like, I didn't think twice about it. I have no soft spot in my heart for that movie. But for some reason, Black Swan and Seven and a couple other ones, they really, it's like, I know they're amazing movies and I will never rewatch them because I'm like, I can
never rewatch Amores Perros again. I watched it again like last year because I need to watch it for the second time. And Jamie walked in. She's like, the fuck are you watching, bro?
Yeah, because you guys are huge dog lovers.
Love dogs, bro. We have 4 of them.
Yeah, I know.
Keep adopting more. Still trying to fill that hole.
You know what other movie is really weird like that is Passion of the Christ. I went and saw it by myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, even if you have no religious background or you don't believe in God or whatever, which I have a very weird relationship with religion, but you watch this movie and you're like, I just cannot believe humans treat other humans like that. Like still to this day in certain regions of the world. And so watching that movie, I'm just like, your stomach's turning and you're like, God damn, dude.
I need those movies.
No pun intended. Even if you don't believe in this is the Son of Christ, it's like, it's just vicious to watch humans treat other humans that way. And I remember, thankfully, I went by myself and the 2 single gals that were out on like I don't know, date night together or something. I was like, this is a weird place to have like a girl night. But I was like, holding everything back until they started crying, and I'm like, okay, cool, permission to cry. Right. And then I'm just like a faucet, Right.
That's art, though, right? It evokes emotion and makes you fucking have a dialogue. It makes you talk about something you would have normally never talked about, like small children and fucking pedophilia. We never would have talked about it. But now you watch this movie, and you're like, wait a minute, what the fuck am I talking about? What am I learning about? Like, I remember when I got into Twisted Film, I had watched Crash for the first time. And that opened my eyes to like...
That's a great film.
Great film. I had seen it, and I remember my friends didn't understand it. They were like, what the fuck did we just watch? And I'm like, that movie just fucking blew my mind. I'm like, whoa, we have to crash into each other to connect. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I never thought it. And then that opened my mind to all the Twisted films, from Ichi the Killer to fucking all these crazy films that I just dove into. And when I found Amores Perros, I was like, yeah, this is why I dove into the Twisted film section.
That's the pinnacle, huh?
That was the pinnacle. It was like, there's Marquis de Sade adoptions of like fucking fucked up movies, of like 120 Days of Sodom, and like all these fucked up movies, and then Cannibal Holocaust, all these crazy movies. Ended on Amores Perros and was just like, this is why these movies are created. Shock culture. To shock your mind, to really fucking understand why you're thinking about this, and really dive into the dialogue, because we have to discuss these things. Because if we don't, we're just fucking animals.
Dude, you know where I get those emotions is in military movies. And I think it's because I have kind of a weird like relationship. When I was in the military, there was no war going on. So I basically just drank and like trained. And so it's like, I kind of have this weird like, I don't know, when people say thank you for your service, I was like, yeah, I got kind of paid for what I would have done, but I didn't do it. Like I didn't go to war. I got out before 2001. My ETS date when I got out was September 11th, 2000. So like I never got shot at in anger or whatever, but I was, 12 months removed from being a lifer in the military and army, and I had a contract to go try out for special forces, which I think I would have made it through. I was pretty in great shape back then. It's like 60 pounds ago. But it's like, so when I see war movies, like Black Hawk Down, I've seen it multiple times.
Fucking great movie.
But I don't know if I'll ever be able to watch that movie with my wife or my kids, because it fucking crushes me when I see that. I'm just like, man, the sacrifice of those two the two special forces snipers that go down and they know they're gonna die. Like any like realistic war movie really fucks me up. And like Gabriel's walked in a few times when I'm watching, I don't know, Full Metal Jacket or something, and I get teary-eyed, and he's like, he doesn't get the context.
Yeah.
He's like,
right?
you okay, Dad? Were you crying, Dad? I was like,
guess I'm high, bro.
Yeah, I always tell him I'm crying. I'm like, what? He's like, why? He's like, well, that movie brings up a sad thing. He's like, oh, okay. Did you see someone die? I'm like, no, I didn't see somebody die, but I can like empathize. So,
bro, I had such a fucked up childhood. I cry at fucking Hallmark commercials. Like my daughter would literally watch me cry at fucking every dog movie, watch Racing in the Rain, all that shit. I'm like fucking just bawling. She's like, why are you crying? I'm like, I had a fucked up childhood, man. Just trying to get my emotions out here.
Yeah. You know what's weird is it's the same thing for me. I had a pretty great childhood. My parents were excellent. We had like a good like lower middle class upbringing. They worked really hard to make sure I could go to Boy Scouts and all that stuff. Like they were really good people. They were super young parents.
My parents were the complete fucking opposite.
Okay, yeah. My parents were super young. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, they were super good people. And so, but I'm a sucker for war movies and coming of age movies. Like some stupid, effectively like a teenage rom-com. I'm like, he's coming of age.
Oh, bro,
he lost his virginity. Like whatever, There's a scene in, it gets me every time. I'll probably start crying just talking about it.
Shit.
Did you watch The Wonder Years?
Bro, are you kidding?
Okay.
I grew up on that shit.
So the episode where Winnie Cooper goes to a different junior high, but they end up at the same they end up at the same field trip together.
Yeah,
and
he's
he's like,
episode you're talking
he's
about.
trying to like hold her hand the whole time, and then she basically tells him that she has a new boyfriend at her junior high. And at the end of the episode, the two buses go their separate ways.
That fucking broke you.
Oh fuck, dude, I'm crying. I'm like, oh man, like they're never gonna get back together.
If we're gonna do this, I cried at Fast and Furious 6 when fucking the Paul Walker splits from Vin Diesel.
Me too.
And it's CGI, and he's looking at him, and I'm like, bro, Paul Walker's dead. Fucking tears. My wife's like, you're crying a fucking bastard. He's like, yes, I am.
So did I. Dude, we're cut from the same cloth.
100%, bro.
Because, any of those coming of age, like, lost stories, I'm just like, oh, it's so sad. He'll never have his love from high school again. Rah, rah, rah. And
16 candles. You're like, oh, God.
Oh, Grandpa, Cadillac in Lake. I don't know. I think men that are in touch with their emotions, they can cry at military movies and coming of age movies. So.
Oh, totally. My friend Keith, he's like, I haven't cried in 10 fucking years. I'm like, bro, you need to cry. You need some fucking therapy, bro.
Yeah. Well, which is funny because, like, I'll go to a funeral for somebody I really care about.
I won't cry.
Stoneface.
0 fucking tears. I didn't cry at my dad's funeral, my brother's, nothing. 0 tears.
Ugh.
I don't get it. But you throw me in front of a fucking movie about dog dying?
Yeah, lukewarm episode of Grey's Anatomy, and you're just crying like a little baby.
Dude, give me a House episode. I'm done. I'm fucking
You're like,
done.
he has leukemia. It's always leukemia.
He's addicted to Vicodin and be nice to him.
Oh my God, dude. All right. We got to end it before we're here all night.
Yeah,
But
bro.
hey, John, I appreciate you coming on, man. Let's talk in like 6 months when I have
do it.
all this wallet stuff set up that you're going to teach me how to do, and I'm
When
a
the bull
millionaire.
runs fucking hit, crazy numbers and we're all millionaires just chilling on our yacht. Let's
Yeah,
do it
dude,
again.
I don't even want to be millionaires. I just want to pay off my house. If I can pay off my
Easy
house
enough.
with some Joe Biden bullshit
you hold
coin.
the shit you have now, and I promise you'll be paying. Oh wait, no, I can't say that's financial advice. Fuck.
No, it's not financial advice. One day, maybe, hypothetically,
You might be able
This
to
is not
do it.
financial
This is
advice.
not financial
Yeah.
advice.
I used to have my Series 7. I do not anymore. I cannot give you any financial advice. Invest at your own risk. Talk to a professional. Do not dodge taxes.
I have no series license.
By the way, how hard was that for you to write the check to the IRS?
bro, $600,000.
Oh, that's not
Fucking
fun.
awful, dude.
Fuck that.
When I wrote that check, I was just like, but at least we live in a state where it's only 37% federal tax.
Yeah.
No state tax.
Yeah.
That was rough. The first year when I wrote that first check, because I had never, so guess what? In my entire life, I'd never paid taxes. I had
You
only
didn't make no money?
I only had them taken out. Never had I ever had to write IRS a check. I was so fucking confused.
And then a bunch of years in a row, you're just like, oh, six figures.
Yeah, I'm just like, bro, what is happening? 7 figures. I'm like, oh God, what am I going to do with myself? Like, those checks were one of the hard. And when we bought our house, like that was it. But how I thought of it, honestly, when I cashed out on crypto, crypto was at its peak. ETH was at 4,500. I texted my friends, chart readers, geniuses. They all said crypto was going to double 8,000. Everybody that I texted So that kind of told me it's time to sell, right? That's enough. But when I did cash out, I could have kept it and I could have reinvested. I could have gone crazy. I could have traveled. I could have done anything. I put it into a house because that made the most sense to me.
Yeah.
Might not have been the best choice, but I put it into what I thought was stablecoin for an idiot like me who would fucking spend it all traveling the world.
Yeah.
So I was like, put it into a house, hold on to a little bit, and keep going. Because
and you've done well since then, so I think it worked out okay.
It worked out really well. You just, I can't express enough. Like, know when it's enough. No, like, really emphasize. Like, I need to emphasize. Like, know when it's enough. No, don't sit there and be like, I'm 1,000x. Fucking, let's go 10,000. Like, bro, know when it's enough. Take a number and be like, this will change my life, and work for that. Don't be an idiot and think that this is just going to keep going, because things do crash. Cycles happen. Mm-hmm. This will crash. The crypto market will crash again. No question on that. And it will be, are you going to be left holding that fucking bag?
Right. All right. We'll see you in a few months when
we're either
rich or broke.
Either rich or broke, bro.